All right, let's get into it, shall we? Here we go. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday live stream here, August 20th, 2022. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are already in the chat, active, ready to go. A couple things I need to do. I'm going to throw the chat up on the screen, and then I'll, of course, answer the questions there so we know where we're at in terms of order. But what's up, guys? We haven't done this in a little while. Should be fun. The fantasy season is just around the corner, man. I cannot wait. You guys don't even understand. At least I'm not muted this time. I think I did a stream during the off season where I was completely muted, and that was a absolute mess. But hey, we're here. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to answer your guys' questions, and of course, help you guys get closer to winning a 2022 fantasy football championship. That is the entire purpose. Teach you guys, give you guys my insight, all the studying, all the research I do, try to, kind of insert that mentality into your mind so that when you go to your drafts this weekend, next weekend, etc., you guys are ready to get the business done and end up winning some leagues here. All right, so let me go ahead. What the heck just happened? My arm just, like, the arm hair just got ripped off from my desk. Yo. All right, let's go ahead. Let me just scroll to the top here. Of course, I'm going to answer questions probably for the first, 10, 20, 30 minutes. Seeing what's up with you guys, what questions you have. Of course, then after that, we're going to transition to, immediately hopping into some drafts via Underdog Fantasy. Again, we could do some public drafts where I can make a private league $3 buy-in for those of you who've already signed up using my code. You can obviously hop in there and draft against me. Again, another heads up, there's the link down in the description as it says to the right of me or to the left of me on the banner. If you sign up today via Underdog Fantasy, there's a $100 first deposit match up to $100. And then, of course, you'll get my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings, half and full PPR within 24 hours after you've made that first time deposit. Thank you very much. All right, so here we go. Running Bear at the top of the first comment before anybody was here. I was probably the only one here, but he said Debo or Javonte in the second round of a best ball. It really depends on what's available. But if I was just to kind of leave it in a pocket and think to myself, what's going to set me up for success? If I'm starting Justin Jefferson in my first round, I probably want a running back in my second and third rounds. Because if I don't, there's probably a relatively good chance that I may be with one running back within my first 4 rounds, and that's pretty uncomfortable to say the least. Because if you're starting probably 1 through 4 picking Justin Jefferson in a best ball, by the time you get to your 4th round, we're almost already 50 picks in there. It's going to be tough to find an RB2 in that regard. Is Breece Hall worth a 3rd round pick, said Kelly? Listen, I think players are worth what you're willing to draft them at, right? Like, I've seen leagues where, Breece Hall could go in the 1st round, right? It just depends on how you think they're going to produce. In my opinion, I think that's a little too rich for my blood. I don't think I'm willing to make that investment per se, but, at this moment, I guess it just depends. If you think he's going to be a top 12 running back and he ends up being so, then that pick is a great, overall selection. But I think you may be even able to get him at a little bit more of a discount, considering a lot of people aren't sure of the Jets right now. Rank Akers, Breece, ETN, Akers, Breece in that exact order. Should I pick up Everett and stack him with Herbert? I have Hurts as my tight end. Also for another league, is it worth keeping Wilson or Lance? If you're keeping a quarterback for the future, I'm pretty much on the Trey Lance train. I might be the conductor, to be honest, at this point. As for stacking stacking Everett with Herbert, listen, I always want to play the best overall players. If there's a stack that makes sense in terms both those players are the best available at their positions for me to have on my roster, then yeah, I'm going to set myself up for success. But I think Ertz is a far better tight end than Everett early on in the season, especially considering there is no DeAndre Hopkins from weeks 1 through 6 of the Arizona Cardinals schedule. It's going to be a lot of opportunity for Ertz there, so I'd keep him. If you want to have 2 tight ends on roster, I don't mind holding Everett there because we saw a lot of utilization of Jared Cook last season. I think he had 80 targets last year, also splitting with Donald Parham and Steven Anderson, the 3rd string tight end. So there's a lot of work to be had there. Okay. I kind of want to scroll. If you guys have, this love right here, the greetings and salutations, I appreciate that wholeheartedly, guys. I appreciate that a lot. If I was able to help you in any way in terms of winning a championship, guys, hey, listen, I'm glad I was able to help in any regard. Okay. Obviously, you make the decisions at the end of the day. You guys should be taking credit for those W's. And hopefully you guys do. But either way, I'm glad to help in any regard that I can. Alexander Lee says, any updates on Kareem Hunt staying in Cleveland? All right, Alexander. So yesterday, I saw a post on Twitter, which actually had a little bit of, I guess, information that maybe, just maybe, might end up being a rumor to a fact in a couple days. So the Cleveland Browns have been practicing with the Philadelphia Eagles. There were a couple pictures of Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Eagles, talking to Kareem Hunt on the sideline during their joint practices. Miles Sanders has missed 3 consecutive days of practice. Maybe, just maybe, the Eagles trade for Kareem Hunt behind one of the top 3 offensive lines in the league. You know, Miles Sanders was averaging 5 yards per carry. Imagine what Kareem Hunt could do. I mean, goodness gracious, guys. Imagine the potential. So, listen, if that was to happen, I would be ecstatic. I mean, of course, the ability for Nick Chubb to be by himself, I've talked about it in videos past. When Nick Chubb has played by himself, what is it? I think 6 games. Is it 6? I believe it's 6. There was like 6 games without Kareem Hunt in the lineup as of late, where Nick Chubb has averaged 19.96 fantasy points per game, some crazy number and a half PPR. If he's by himself, that's great. If we have an established RB1 for the Philadelphia Eagles, that's even better. Maybe they're all in. We'll see. Let's see here. I'm picking 8 in an 8-team league with a super flex. First 2 picks, Allen and Najee. What do you think? Listen, if you can get Josh Allen at the back end of the first round of a super flex format, 100% I'm taking that. I personally think in all super flex formats, Josh Allen should be coming off the board immediately. Najee Harris, if he's the best available player at that point, yeah, let's do it. I'm perfectly fine there. At least that way, you're addressing your running back positional need. And then by the time the draft goes down, comes back, if running backs are off the board, at least you don't have to immediately address that. You can then follow up in your 3rd and 4th rounds with perhaps another, quarterback and a wide receiver. And then you've got a pretty good, standing there for the future. But again, considering it is an 8-team league, you don't really have to force into that second quarterback just as quick as a 12 or 14-team league. Because again, if there's only 8 teams starting 2 quarterbacks, that's 16 quarterbacks starting in a singular week instead of a crazy number. Everybody's going to have a 3rd string guy. So again, you don't have to force into that second guy. Bruh, is that intro on Spotify? Dante, I don't know. I know it's the song specifically is a part of YouTube's copyright free music. That's why I'm able to play it. And the artist, whoever that is that donated that to YouTube, certainly is. I'm sure he's notified for as much as I use it, and I hope he's happy that I use it because his song is a banger. How serious is the Matthew Stafford injury? Says Jackson. Jackson, that's a great question. From what I have been able to tell, they're taking it. Look, Sean McVay is a very, I would say, cautious head coach. He doesn't play any of his starters during the preseason. And he does that because he knows the championships are won during the regular season and playoffs. And you got to get there and you got to get there healthy in order to do so. From my perspective, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think people are blowing it out of proportion just to go ahead and move Justin Jefferson to the number 1 wide receiver spot because they want to. But it could be my Rams bias to just like copium, like inhaling copium as much as I possibly can to just convince myself that Matthew Stafford isn't injured. I've seen him practice and throw a couple balls in the last couple weeks where I'm like, listen, if they're allowing him to throw passes, then it really isn't probably that serious. They're just monitoring it to the point where they don't want anything to happen midway through the season. Dave said, thanks for helping me preparing an upcoming draft. 8 teams, half PPR. Would you target a tight end early or fade? I guess it depends where you're selecting, right? If you're playing in an 8-team league, everyone's going to have a stud tight end, right? Whether it's, number 1, obviously Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts, all the way to, I think my number 8 tight end is either Goddard or Hawkinson as of right now. I'm okay waiting for those later picks because especially in an 8-team league, if I'm able to stack up on multiple running backs, 2 wide receivers, a flex, a stud quarterback, I'm okay rolling out a Hawkinson or a Goddard. And then on top of that, being able to maybe get another tight end like a Knox later on in the draft because there aren't as many teams in that given league. And then just be able to play matchups on a weekly basis and just roll out for touchdown upside. What is this update? Brian Robinson has the first carry of the preseason. Antonio Gibson returned the kick. Interesting. All right, Brian Robinson obviously looks like he's slowly but surely securing that starting spot in Washington. All right, let's see here. Stevenson is going to surpass all predicted stats. That's Ramondre, I'm assuming, Jay. Listen, I'm all for it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Got my draft in 2 hours. That sounds great, Andre. Hopefully we can help you out before then. Robert says, order, please and thank you. Your order: Pittman, Ayuk, Lazard, and Marquise Hollywood Brown. I said Marquez. I was thinking of. Anyway, doesn't matter. I was thinking of the Saints receiver. Goodness gracious, what is that guy's name? Marquez Callaway. Anyway, so Michael Pittman is my number 1. Marquise Hollywood Brown is my number 2. Lazard 3, Ayuk 4. Love the live streams. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Standard league. Should I go for Mixon or Najee Harris? I think I'd probably go for Mixon. I think the touchdown upside is certainly going to be there, considering it is a higher scoring team. They're far more equipped to score on a weekly basis in comparison to what is going on in Pittsburgh. Again, we're not 100% certain what Mitchell Trubisky is going to look like in that offense. On top of it, we're also in a scenario in which you don't have to worry about those receiving, points. Even if Najee Harris has another 70-plus reception year, it is not going to benefit him that much more than those touchdowns are for Mixon. So I'd probably lean in Mixon's direction in a flat standard league. I just need touchdowns and yards and a lot of rushing attempts, which are both obviously going to do, but I think the touchdowns are certainly on Mixon's side. Ian Him says, I'm trusting your channel this season. Don't fail me. Listen, dude, I'm going to try my best. We'll see what happens. Do you think Damian Harris, or Damon Harris is, I think it's Damian Harris, Damian Pierce. Why am dude, I'm like dyslexically thinking of other players while reading names. It's crazy. It doesn't matter. He's going to be the starting running back in Houston. I don't think he'll initially be. I mean, unless they've seen stuff at training camp and practice that has already kind of launched him ahead of Marlon Mack. The fact that he didn't play yesterday in the preseason game against the Rams does give us a little bit of an indication that maybe, just maybe, we're in a scenario in which Pierce has already won the job. Or maybe he got hurt at practice and they're just not playing him. Obviously time will tell. But for right now, I obviously would like to get him in a later round. Because eventually he's going to be the third down back for certain, because he's far more equipped to be a receiving threat out of that backfield in comparison to Mack and Rex Burkhead. Even though Rex Burkhead has shown in his career he's certainly capable of doing so, I think Pierce will take over that role and then eventually start digging into early down work. Thoughts on Amon-Ra long-term viability as a number 2 wide receiver? I think I mentioned this yesterday. I had a video. The video was draft or pass, basically a play on the smash or pass kind of Tinder game. But either way, I talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown potentially being a wide receiver too on your offense, and me being a little bit hesitant in that idea because they have a lot more weapons this season. Obviously, they're going to throw the ball a bunch, and obviously he did a lot from weeks 13 through 18 last season, averaging over 20 fantasy points per game in just a half PPR. Regardless, I mean, full PPR, the dude was absolutely taking over, was probably 24 plus points per game. But as of right now, I'm probably leaning towards as my number 2. If he's the best available wide receiver there, and you've already taken 2 running backs, a tight end, and a wide receiver, then yeah, I'm taking him. But you have to give me like a little bit of another wide receiver to throw out there. Hey, would you rather take Amon-Ra St. Brown or Juju Smith? Like give me one of those. That way I can kind of narrow and pinpoint just exactly where I am in regards to Amon-Ra. Otherwise, hell of a player. I'm the 5th pick in a 10-team PPR, says Jesse. What should I go with? I mean, listen, if you're playing in a PPR league and we have Taylor, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Kupp come off the board as the first 4 picks, and you're sitting at the 5th pick, I'm probably going with Eckler myself. It's Eckler, Henry, Chase, but probably in that order as well. Maybe, yeah, I think I'm probably going Eckler in that regard. Do you like to stack wide receiver and quarterback in best ball drafts, or do you select players regardless of correlation? Listen, I've done it in the past, but it has to be perfect for me, right? Like I'm not going to force it if I can help it. You know what I mean? I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm overdrafting value at a position just to get the stack. Like I understand the correlations and all the stats that have been done in terms of week 17 correlations, having multiple players against each other in a great matchup in that contest, so that when you get to the finals, you could potentially, arise and claim the championship there. But for right now, I've always been someone that is trying to just build the best roster as a whole instead of, premierly stacking. Let's see here. Who should I keep in the last round in a standard league? Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins? If I'm keeping one, it's probably J.K. Dobbins. If you can keep him for multiple years and there isn't some sort of penalty in terms of keeping him, like you can always have him every year from here on out, I'd probably go Dobbins, mainly because like obviously I think we've all heard the research and everything that's come out of, Achilles injuries and the success rates there. In comparison to ACLs, obviously they're both devastating injuries, but there's far more success that we've seen tangibly in the last decade from returned ACLs. I mean, Dalvin Cook recently, of course, just a couple years back, his rookie year tore his ACL, came back. The following year was a little slow, but 2 years after that, top 5 running back each of the last two, at least, what was it, 2019 and 2020. 2021 obviously riddled with injuries, but for right now, I'd probably go Dobbins in the long run if I'm playing like something of that extent. Who are you taking in the 4th in a 10-team super flex? A quarterback, best available at that time. So if the best available quarterbacks go Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, Lamar, I'm taking Lamar at number 4. Andrew, how you feeling about Jalen Waddle? I snagged him in the 4th. As my wide receiver too, I like that. I'm okay with that, especially in a full PPR. In a half, I'm not as keen because I don't know if his touchdown upside is certainly going to be there. I think his yards after the catch, his receptions, those will definitely treat him pretty well. But for right now, I'm okay with him in the 4th. Hopefully it was a late 4th and not an early one. But, I don't know. The draft board is a little different for all of us. Thoughts on Prescott, my team of Prescott, Mixon, Kamara, JJ, okay, Pittman, Kelsey. I mean, the fact that you have Mixon and Kamara, that was your first 2 picks. You said JJ. I'm assuming that's Justin Jefferson. You have Justin Jefferson and Michael Pittman Jr. and Kelsey. You play in a 4-team league. Even if you don't, let's say you play in an 8-team league. Congratulations, you're in a pretty good spot. Your most difficult, aspect of this year is figuring out which studs not to start. Because when you get such an all-star team, you have to start them all every week. And you're not going to get 1,000% of their production every week. So eventually, you just got to hope that you hit the lottery in terms of that kind of roster. David says, welcome back, Andrew. You have Henry ranked higher than a lot of others in your rankings. Can you talk about that in comparison and compare to Eckler? Yeah, look, here's the thing. I don't understand. I mean, I think I've mentioned this multiple times this offseason. I understand the idea that Derrick Henry has, reached his 2,000 touch kind of like mark in his career. But a lot of us have to remember the fact that when he was drafted back in 2016 and in 2017, both those years, he played behind DeMarco Murray. In 2018, he only began to get consistent touches at the back end of the year once Dion Lewis started to kind of fade. This team has very rarely used him in his first 3 years of his career. It was more of an acclimation period for him. And obviously the last 3+ seasons of his career, we've seen a lot of touches, especially in the playoffs. As a whole, we've seen multiple 400 touch seasons. I get it. That takes wear and tear. But we have to also take into account that he is not a regular human being. He is 6'4", 255, 60 pounds, playing running back. And his injury history really hasn't been as detailed as other players. When you look at his injury history, he had a hamstring strain in like 2016, a quad strain in 2019, and then he had his broken foot last year. Right, he came back from his broken foot. He had 20 touches. This is going to be a Derrick Henry offense. Anytime they're close to the goal line, he's running it in. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill will take his couple rushing touchdowns a year. He gets like 5 or 6, but ultimately, I don't understand the concern. In a full PPR, sure, I'll take Eckler. Don't get me wrong. In a half PPR, when you're not getting as many points for those overall receptions and you're definitely having to rely upon that rushing work and the rushing touchdowns, give me Henry all day. Alrighty. We saw a donation coming from Nel Santiago. Welcome back. Obviously a familiar name in the community. Thank you very much. Definitely appreciate the contribution to the channel. Next time, hey, Nels, you got $10? You want to join the Patreon? You want to join Underdog Fantasy? You can make a deposit there. I mean, I appreciate you sending it my way, but you could also get my rankings if you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Make a minimum deposit of $10, get a deposit match of an additional 10. Boom, boom. Then you'll go ahead and get an email of my half full PPR rankings by positional tier, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defensive positions, along with top 200 flex. Good to go. Check it out if you're interested. But anyway, your question, first and foremost. PPR Keeper League. We're keeping 3. Herbert, which I'm assuming is Justin, Ramondre Stevenson, Akers, and Dylan. Okay. What I will say first and foremost is to give you like the most definitive answer, I would have to really look at your whole league in the spectrum of like who's really being kept in all the other teams, right? after I've kind of figured out who else is being kept, that'll give me a better understanding as to what kind of value there is. But again, as of right now, if I'm keeping 3 and you're able to keep them at their current draft position for multiple years, I think Herbert in the 11th is ridiculously good value. And then after that, I'm probably keeping Akers in the 9th. And then it's between Ramondre or Dillon. I probably go Ramondre in the 13th. So Herbert, Ramondre, Akers. I love Dillon, but I mean, I don't think Aaron Jones is going anywhere anytime soon. In comparison to Damian Harris for the New England Patriots, who's in the final year of his rookie contract. Okay, I obviously skipped some questions. I will take that. Obviously, I did. If I have skipped your question, I will hope that you once again retype it in. That would be great. I'd greatly appreciate to, throw that back out there. I got to be a little bit quicker. Obviously, I'm very long-winded, as you guys have already been able to tell from my videos this offseason. There are a couple recording days that I've had where I'm like, dude, why did I just record for 2 hours? I got to edit this whole damn thing because I can't stop effing talking. So I'm sure you're aware of that. You guys get me going on fantasy, I can go for hours. And that's why we're here. Anyway, so let's see here. PPR, Higgins, Pittman, or Scary Terry? Michael, great question. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you click the like button down below. As of right now, I have Pittman, Higgins, Scary Terry in that exact order. A-Train says, thanks for the vids. No problem. Let me see here. Love the content. Thank you very much, Fowler. Rate my team. 10 team. Half PPR, Mixon, Najee. Okay, that's a good combo. You got Higgins in the 3rd. You got Pittman in the 4th. You got Judy, Waller. Shoot. Okay, I like the team. I really actually do. My only question is who's that quarterback? Because really, you're grabbing Miles Sanders is fine there, and so is Godwin. I think Godwin's most likely going to be your flex for majority of the season once he's kind of found his footing. If this is a 3 wide receiver league, you're pretty much set for your primary 3. It's just who's your quarterback, Corey. That's the biggest question. Let's see here. Okay. What is this? RB Dillon or Rashad Bateman? Look, Ryan, if I was to answer the question in a vacuum, right, where I have no context as to who else I have on roster, I don't know if I started wide receiver. If I'm just saying like, hey, this is who I think is going to score more points this year, AJ Dillon or Rashad Bateman in a half PPR or, whatever the heck scoring format, I would probably lean towards the idea of AJ Dillon I'm thinking is going to score like 100 and probably upwards of 160. Yeah, probably like 160 and a half PPR. I think Bateman should very easily be able to surpass that. So I'll take Bateman there in the 5th, especially if you got Lamar in the 4th. Whew, that little stack there. AJ Dillon, Melvin Gordon, Travis Etienne, J.K. Dobbins, please rank them. Yeah, sure. As of right now, Etienne's number 1, Dobbins 2, Dillon 3, Melvin Gordon 4. Javier says, do you like Penny or Kenneth Walker? Look, I know Kenneth Walker had a little bit of a procedure. Luckily, it wasn't a sports hernia or an extreme one where he'll be like out for a really long time. I don't know what to do with that backfield. I feel comfortable grabbing either of those 2 guys later in my rounds. I feel, that the current ADP that is sitting for Kenneth Walker benefits my teams far more. And I like the idea of grabbing a younger back that doesn't have as much injury history in comparison to Penny. So I would certainly lean towards Kenneth Walker if I had to choose one at their current price. As for the PPR format, it doesn't make a difference because, quite frankly, I don't know what we're going to see out of the quarterback position, how much utilization we'll see from running backs in the receiving game. Russell Wilson, his mobility as a quarterback certainly reduced that factor in the last couple of years of dumping it off to running backs. But for right now, I think Kenneth Walker's probably the better investment long-term. But I wouldn't be surprised if Penny, took over and just kind of maintained that job for a while. Let's see here. What do you think about, what do you think the best strategy is for my first 2 picks? I have the 11th slot in a 12-team PPR league. Okay, I think the best strategy typically is to kind of play the draft by what you're kind of given. I typically like to say, hey guys, you should start with 2 running backs in your first 3 rounds. I've made those statements before, right? And I stand by those statements wholeheartedly because I really do believe that the running back position, especially in a full PPR, begins to diminish quickly because you start to see a lot of guys in the later rounds, Jacobs, the Dobbins, the Harrises of the world, where Elijah Mitchell's, guys that are great running backs, but in full PPR, because they're not given top tier receiving potential, they're not going to be as valuable as the receivers that would be taken in those given rounds. So I always like to start double running back at the back end of the first. You can guarantee 2 of the top 12 guys. And then in the 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, get yourself 2 wide receivers, maybe grab a flex running back if the value's right. Otherwise, there's always potential for Pitts falling to you in the 4th, Kelsey Kittle in the the late 4th, 5th, maybe, 6th. Schultz, I'm probably the highest person on Schultz all year. I love my Dallas Cowboys tight ends. Lance or Wilson for week 1. Okay, hold up. I was going to say, I don't know who they play, but I already know because I did the strength of schedule stats all ready to go because that's coming out next week. If you guys are fans of the strength of schedule videos, running backs on Tuesday and wide receivers on Wednesday, that is already kind of scheduled out. So hopefully you guys are interested in that. I know Lance plays the Bears week 1. I know Russell Wilson, if I'm not mistaken, does he play Seattle in week 1? That's going to be it. Woo! That's going to be exciting. I think both players are going to play well. But for right now, I don't even know where I would rank them. I don't even know. Maybe the revenge game might be the play just because it's a revenge game, but that's just like, I haven't really looked into it that much. Because again, we're still in draft mode. We're not in regular season mode. Okay, I'm going to scroll a little bit. Who's your best QB wide receiver stack of the season? Nash, I would probably say that, look, the best QB wide receiver stack is probably not even a QB wide receiver stack. It's Mahomes and Kelsey, right? That's the best stack, in my opinion, right? Or Diggs and Josh Allen. But those are so expensive. You literally have to spend a 3rd round pick for Josh Allen, a 2nd or 1st for Stephon Diggs, depending on scoring format, and just hope that everything else pans out. Those are too expensive. Like I'm much rather take a Mahomes and Juju Smith. I'd much rather take, I don't know. Let me think about this. I'd rather take a Kittle and Lance stack or a little bit later round Kyler Marquise Brown stack, right? Like I don't want to invest too heavily in quarterback to the idea where it's like derailing my entire depth of my roster. But again, if a quarterback's going to be putting up crazy points every week, it makes sense. But in terms of the best stack, the top tier ones are established, but I obviously want to go after cheaper value ones in terms of ADP. Full PPR, do you like running backs or wide receivers more? In what regard? Like as in my flex position? Because I'll go with either. It depends on matchups. Again, guys, matchups are such a huge part of a weekly base. Like you guys don't understand how much of an account they really take in, like the singular variable of the defense you play, the matchup you'll have as a wide receiver versus a specific cornerback makes on a weekly basis, or a running back versus a front 7 who literally cannot stop the run. Like these are things that make a huge difference. Like, for example, I'm just going to throw one out because I know week 1 schedule kind of by heart already. Ezekiel Elliott takes on Tampa Bay week 1. Everybody's already down on Ezekiel Elliott, right? Because they're like, maybe this is, he's falling apart. Great. Think that. He's going to be just fine. But the whole point is he's going to be playing against an extremely tough run-stop defense. One of the best in the leagues, okay, in the league. Last year, they played against Tampa Bay week 1. Zeke didn't have a great week. If you go ahead and you have another dud week from Zeke in week 1, get the trade offers ready, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, get those trade offers ready and start sending them before week 2 even begins. Send them on that Monday night. Fire away trade offers. Because I'm telling you, matchups scare people. And if you can go ahead and cash in on that kind of like, the matchup was already out of hand, I'm not worried about that. That's Tampa Bay's defense. They stop everybody. And then you're able to kind of make it upgrade at a position. Sheesh, we're in a good spot. Okay, so anyway, greetings from Germany. Hey, what's up? Full PPR redraft, 12-team league. I'm pick number 6. I'm all in on Jefferson or Chase. Round 1. And then we have Saquon, Javonte, DeAndre, or Lenny in the 2nd round. Thanks for your content. Yeah, listen, if you're all in on quarterback, wide receiver in the 1st round, either one of them, that's great. Take them. As for your 2nd round in a full PPR scoring format, I'm probably leaning towards Saquon or DeAndre Swift. I don't know why I said Smith. So if you're able to at least get one of those two, because they will have receiving upside, and then maybe in the 3rd round, get another running back, you're in a good spot. Jaden says Lance, Saquon, Dylan, CD, Bateman, Kittle, 14-team league. Yeah, in a 14-team league, that seems about right. You start with, Saquon, CD, you get Kittle later in the rounds, Bateman probably as your 4. Wow, hold up. Where the heck happened here? You have Saquon C. Yeah, no, it makes sense actually. Kittle 4th, Bateman 5th, Lance 6, or Dylan Lance 6, 7. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that seems about right. I mean, in terms of value, everything checks out, and it's not in a bad spot. Akers or Zeke? I'm going Zeke for sure this year. I don't think he's fallen off that bad. Okay, how far are we into the stream? Like, probably like 30 plus minutes. I'm gonna hop into a couple drafts in just a bit. Just want to obviously catch up in terms of some questions. If I don't answer your question, I apologize in advance. Again, there's a lot of you. There's one of me. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna try to be here for a pretty good amount of time. Like we started today at about 2:10. I know you guys. I value you guys' time, and I want to try to get to your questions as soon as I can, so you guys can get about your lives and continue on. But I'm gonna try to be here for like 3+ hours. Try to give you guys as much possible, context and help as I possibly can. All right. Andrew, give us defense that's gonna kill it this year. Buffalo, New England, Tampa Bay. Those are the primaries. Now look, if you want like clutch defenses that are always top 12 every year, but people continue to sleep on them, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Okay, these are in my rankings, but Kansas City, low key, always top 8 defense. I don't know how. They're just always, literally 3 consecutive, I think it's like actually 4 or 5 consecutive years. Top defense. The Packers this year, low key, they've made huge upgrades. They get Jair Alexander back. They brought in those 2 Georgia kids. Holy moly. We're going to be in a good spot there. So you can certainly draft a top tier defense. They're just as valuable as tight ends in a half PPR. Or you could potentially wait a little bit, take a Kansas City, take a Green Bay, benefit off theirs, or say, hey, listen, Andrew, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab my handcuffs like Alexander Mattison, Nyheim Hines in those rounds, and then I'm going to just stream defense every week. By all means, do that because I'll be able to help you during the week on the weekly waiver wire episode to kind of set you up for success there. All right, a couple donations sent in. Jared Sanders, I appreciate it. Thank you for the contribution to the channel. I appreciate the support. How do you feel about a 10-team full PPR league in which I have Brady, Cook, Kamara, Evans, Waddle, Zeke, Hawkinson, and a rotating defense, and Harrison Butker? Okay, so the butt kicker is an actual good name. So obviously starting Cook and Kamara, beautiful. Love to see it. You get Evans probably in the 3rd. You get Zeke in the 4th, Waddle in the 5th. I don't know how the heck you did that. That in itself is confusing. Maybe Zeke fell to the 5th. If he did, firm handshakes. Congratulations, my guy. You ended up cashing in there. You get the Brady and Evans stack, which has obviously been good. Evans, 2 consecutive years with Brady, over 1,000 receiving yards, over 10 receiving touchdowns, over 70 receptions overall. He's going to obviously continue to maintain as a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. You get Hawkinson as your lower end, tight end, but it still have a lot of upside. I would be careful with Hawkinson, only in the idea that, again, he has had his fair share of injuries in his career. You want to make sure that you have a backup tight end, or at least an eye on a backup tight end. So if in fact something goes wrong, you can make a little bit of a pickup off the waiver, or you have someone to throw in there, and you're good to go. Usually that's what I do. If I have a top tier tight end, I don't grab a second guy. If I have a middle of the pack, kind of like a Dawson Knox, Pat Freiermuth, kind of Cole Kmet kind of tight end, I'll try to grab a second just in case. Because if I make a late round investment in the David Njoku and Irv Smith and they pan out, maybe I can use that as trade leverage in order to kind of trade that to a different team and make some, value plays there. Peter also sent in a donation. Thank you very much, Peter. I appreciate the contribution. Says, I have the 7th overall pick in a 12-man dynasty league. First pick is probably going to be Najee Harris. First pick probably going to be, okay, if he's a Steelers fan, sure. But otherwise, where's Jonathan Taylor? You know what I mean? Like, what happened to JT? Maybe your first pick is going to be, yeah. Andrew's bald head over here is not working. Round 2 is probably going to be a wide receiver. Round 3, ETN, Akers, or Breece Hall. If I had to make that's a great question. I'm obviously leaning ETN or Breece Hall right now. That's where I'm leaning in terms of a dynasty league. If I had to pick one, I'm probably going Breece Hall. I think the longevity of having an immediate rookie in an offense that obviously will get better over the years with the offensive line improving is probably a Breece Hall, ETN, Akers order in that exact order. Appreciate it. Jimmy Casket, thank you very much. Says, what is the chance Justin Jefferson will be the number 1 overall wide receiver? 50-50. because it's either him or it's Cooper Kupp. Nah, I mean it's a cop out answer, but in reality, what's the chances of him? Maybe it is actually 50-50 now that I'm thinking about it. Did I miss any other donations? There's another one that just came in. What is the chances of him being the number one wide? Yeah, I think it's legit 50-50. Like it's either him or Kupp. And if Stafford's elbow is as kind of moderated to the point where it does dip, Cooper Kupp's value, then sure. But if Stafford is slinging the rock, Cooper Kupp, in my opinion, is still going to maintain that number one spot. Because again, we saw Justin Jefferson have a bunch of targets last year. 2 consecutive seasons of over 1,400 receiving yards. The touchdown numbers are going up. He's going to be in that 300 plus range. But if he needs to eclipse Cooper Kupp, he's going to really have to have a legendary season here, maybe Triple Crown kind of status. But it's possible, not out of the realm of possibility. So if you want to take Jefferson over Kupp, by all means, you can do so. In my current full PPR rankings, I have them in the same tier. They're both top tier wide receivers, while everybody else is, like, for example, Chase and Diggs are in the next tier, right? Relatively equivalent in the idea that you could take either. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Another donation came in. Dameon Pierce or Walker in a 0.25 PPR, 3-year keeper league. Kenneth Walker. Rashad Penny's on the final year of his contract. Kenneth Walker is going to be unleashed next year. So even if this is an investment that may not pay off this year, in the future, it certainly will. Okay, let me go ahead and scroll a little bit here. Papa Bless. I'd go, okay, yeah, you're, okay. Thank you, Ryan, for answering those guys' questions. Appreciate that. Everybody hit the like button. Thank you, Nels. Appreciate that. He's answering questions without donations attached. Yep, I certainly am. I'm trying to help. I just had to answer those questions because those people were generous enough to come in here, support the channel with that, with their patronage. I appreciate that, guys. Okay, let's see here. Nobody cares about your... Okay, what is this? Look at this. Nobody... Yep. Okay, dude. I mean, listen, Bobby, relax. We get it. I'm just here to help. Don't blame these guys. They just want help, and I'm here to offer it. No need to get mad at anybody. We're all just having fun, just talking about fantasy. We're just chill, my guy. Let's see here. Who has the best ceiling, Sky Moore, Olave, or Kadarius Toney? I think Kadarius Toney has the highest ceiling this year, certainly. If McCole Hardman's injury is as bad as we think, maybe Sky Moore gets more opportunity, but otherwise I think it would be Toney, Chris Olave, and then more after. Can you rank AJ Brown, Gabe Davis, McLaurin, and DK? Yeah, it would go Brown, Davis, Metcalf, McLaurin. Thank you. Number 4 pick between Eckler, Cook, and Henry. Yeah, I guess it depends on what scoring format you play in. In a full PPR, I'm with Eckler. In a half or a standard, I'm with Henry. Cook, again, in my opinion, those 2 to 3 games that he is guaranteed to miss every year. I say guaranteed. It's obviously not a guarantee, but the 2 to 3 that he misses every year, and the fact that I have to take Madison in the 10th round kind of makes him not as appealing as the other 2 options. Okay, Bobby, you got to stop, my guy. If you, I mean, come on, man. I mean, I might have to just, like, time you out. Please stop being toxic, We're just trying to have fun here. I don't mind hitting the band hammer on it. Just got to take it easy, my guy. Can you guys, in the chat, let them know, skip my donation? Papa Bless, I see it. Thank you. I'm going to go over that right now. Okay, so here's a scenario that you set up, Papa Bless. 10-team full PPR, 8th pick. What are the 2 players you are picking in the first 2 rounds? Listen, dude, I don't know who's available, but if you have the 8th pick, I'm going double running back. That's just my opinion. Again, like I've talked about, I always want to take the 2 best running backs, guarantee 2 top 12 guys, maybe guys that have even upside to get into that top 10 conversation. If they're able to do so, then you're set up for success. You lock in on wide receivers for the next couple rounds, tight ends from rounds 4 through 6, whether it is a Kittle, Waller, Schultz. Lock those guys in. Get maybe a quarterback in that span of time, but otherwise you can wait till round 7. Get yourself a Brady, Wilson, the guys that are like guaranteed top 12 and be in a pretty perfect spot there in my opinion. So yeah, if you're at the back end of the first, I really like going double running back. Hopefully we'll be able to show that in one of the drafts we're doing in just a bit here. A couple more donations came in real quick. Joshua says 12-man league, pick number 2, grabbing running back first 3 rounds. Nah, you shouldn't do that. I think you should probably just follow it up with, RB in the first round for sure. If you're comfortable with McCaffrey. If you're not, then you just, you lock in one of those wide receivers. You're good to go. In the following 2 rounds after that, depending on where your first round went, it'll kind of lock it in. You know what I mean? Like if you went Jefferson with the number 2 pick, in the second and third, you got to go double running back. If you went running back in the first, you could probably get a solid RB2 in round 2, and then on the turn, get like Pittman in the third, or Higgins. Guys that I really like, Mike Williams in the third. Let's see here. Okay, so another question, Jimmy Casket. Let me see here, Jimmy. What'd you say? Okay. Will Fournette take a step back or step up? How much of a step up or down will he take? Listen, I don't think he's going to get as many targets per game as he did last year. It's possible that he does, but again, weeks 4 through 14, the guy was catching the ball 5 times a game. I think with a healthy Bernard, Rachaad White, there may be less utilization of him because they want to sustain him for the whole year. Is he going to be a massive step down? No, I still think he's going to be a top 12 running back. I just don't think he's going to be a top 5 running back. Which Chiefs wide receivers are you targeting this year? Juju Smith, purely. And then obviously, Kelsey. But I wouldn't consider him a wide receiver, but a receiving option nonetheless. Okay, Mr. Punch said, in a 12-team half PPR Superflex Dynasty League, startup here, we have Hurts, Swift, Mixon, Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Kittle, Chubb, Godwin, Sutton, Fields. Okay, so if you're going Superflex, you have Fields. Listen, Fields is going to be in trouble for the next couple of years. I hope you drafted a good third running back because his offensive line is awful. Hurts is a stud. Swift, Mixon's great. They're all young. Deontay's young, just got a new contract. Pittman's going to be on the best season of his career. Kittle's still good. You have Chubb in your flex. You still have Godwin. So, ultimately, I don't know how you managed to... Actually, I know how you managed to get this team. A lot of people were tunneling on quarterback, and then you just started scooping up a bunch of these other studs. I think that's a great play. That hero quarterback kind of approach really does work a lot. And in this regard, based on your team and the way I have them ranked, just going into this upcoming year, much less the future, you're in a pretty good spot here, Mr. Punch. All right, Big Ticket was saying, greetings, salutations, half PPR league. Half a point per carry league. Oh, yikes. How would you rank Swift, Kamara, and Saquon? Jeez, man, I'd have to go do some math. I haven't really, if we're looking at total touches on the ground, it's probably Saquon that leads the pack. But I don't know how much if we're just doing, if Saquon gets relatively anywhere close to 280 rushing attempts, Kamara is not going to get close to that. And I don't think Swift will either, but they're going to get those receptions. If it's not if it's a full PPR too, yeah, I'd probably go Saquon there, I think, honestly. Because I think I'm just going to go Saquon there. Is Michael Pittman in the second round too early? It has to be late second. But again, I expect him to be a top 12 wide receiver this year. I have him currently ranked at my number 9 spot. So there's a very good chance that, you might end up getting him on the turn coming back at like the 2.08. And I'd be okay with it, but I think you can get him later. But just depends on how the league is constructed and what you expect other teams in your league to kind of go after. I don't mind reaching a couple picks for a player if it's going to guarantee the comfort of that player for the full season. All right, let's see here. Been building a lineup over the years. I drafted Pickens, Watson, Jameson, hoping. Okay, interesting. All right, you have a lot of upside there in terms of your players in the upcoming years. Raymond says J.K. Dobbins or ETN in a half PPR. I prefer ETN. Thank you. Do you think Kupp can live up to the hype of last year, or do you think he should be going in the top 5 of drafts? I do think he should be. Again, I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as Matthew Stafford comes in, he blows up. There's obviously connection there, and there's obviously an offense that is built around making sure that Cooper Kupp thrives and finds success. Obviously, he will take steps back. You bring in Allen Robinson, you have more of an effective, stable running back there. Obviously, they still had Henderson and Michelle last season. Maybe they go ahead and re-sign OBJ. Obviously, there's probably not going to be 191 targets dedicated to him, but I still think he should be, top 5 pick this year, certainly. Psilocybin, thank you very much. Ben says, rank Marquise Brown, Lazard, and Kadarius Toney. Yeah, in that exact order. Brown, Lazard, Toney. Thank you. Mainly because it's about opportunity and it's about quarterback play. Marquise Brown, in my opinion, most likely will have the most targets amongst those 3 options. Lazard has the next best quarterback, and Kadarius Toney has to play with Daniel Jones every week, which is a struggle. How does Elijah Moore stock go up now with Wilson hurt? I think Joe Flacco is still a decent enough quarterback to get his job, to at least elevate the wide receivers around him. I don't know if it's to keep the job as a starting quarterback. Maybe if they win a couple games early, we could have that conversation. But for right now, as long as Flacco's in there for the first couple weeks, I know the Jets play against Baltimore week 1, a little bit of a revenge game there. Moore is certainly going to be top 24 status on those weeks. As soon as Wilson comes back, he'll go back to being like a lower end, wide receiver 3, or in that range of wide receiver 3. Let's see here. Okay, so a couple more donations were sent in. Listen, guys, if you send a donation, I appreciate it. I'm not going to be able to answer it immediately, especially once I start getting drafting here. But I do appreciate your guys' contribution. Again, if you guys want my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings for a half and full PPR scoring format, the way you can do that today is by going to the link down in the description, travel to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code Andrew while making a first-time deposit. Not only will Underdog Fantasy first-time deposit match up to $100 for you, but you'll also get a email from me personally. I'll send you the email within 24 hours of my draft rankings up to date. And I'll also send you, like I've been mentioning in my intros of all my videos in the last 20 days here, I will be sending you a weekly update up until September 3rd. So regardless of when you're drafting, in the upcoming weeks, you'll have weekly updates because, again, ADPs change, values change, and, injuries happen. Nonetheless, Francisco Castro says 6th pick PPR, Jefferson, Cook, and okay. So if you're the 6th pick and you're picking between Jefferson and Cook, I'd rather have Jefferson in a full PPR. In the 2nd round, Saquon or Aaron Jones, I'd rather have Saquon. Thank you. Douglas says I'm in a 9-team 9th pick. There's no way you're in a 9-team league. Because that means one of your teams every week will be on a bye week, unless you guys are playing total points scored, which I doubt. But anyway, maybe it's 10-team, doesn't matter. 10th team, okay, you have a 9th pick, doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to take Mixon, he says. If Najee fails, should I take him or Kamara? If Najee falls, him or Kamara. Or should I take Adams or Diggs? In my opinion, I just go double running back there. I think the stability of just getting a top 5-6 guy in Najee Harris and Mixon back to back and not having to worry about Kamara's potential suspension is far more appealing to me. So I just go Mixon, Najee. Let's see here. Trell sends in a donation. Thank you very much. I appreciate the contribution. Dalvin Cook or Chase in the 1st round? And Mike Williams or Sutton, too early of a reach in the 3rd round? No, I actually perfectly like them in the 3rd round. I think that's exactly where their value should be. As for your 1st round selection, half PPR, I'm going with Dalvin Cook. Full PPR, give me Jamar Chase in the 1st. Cody says, Dynasty, full PPR 12-team league. I have Lamar Jackson, Jacobs, Mixon, Debo, Deontay Cooks, Mooney, Knox, benches Ramondre, and James Cook. I think you're in a good spot. I think Jacobs is probably the position or the player that is most likely going to be the difference maker, in my opinion. But we'll see. Let's see here. Full PPR, Amon-Ra St. Brown or Adam Thielen. If Adam Thielen stays healthy for a full 15, 16 game season, I'd much rather have him. Is he going to stay healthy for that entirety? I have no clue. Chances are probably not. But even with that said, I'd probably still rather have Adam Thielen this year. Can you rank Cooks, MT, and Allen Robinson? Sure. I'd go Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks in that exact order. Thank you, money man. Let's see here. Cody, we answered that question. And then we had Bad Sports send in a question. Says, I'm in a 12-team league, full PPR. We have 2 keepers and 1 rookie. Okay. My 2 keepers are Kelsey, Aaron Jones, and my keepers are Kelsey, Aaron Jones, and Javonte Williams. But I thought it's 2 keeper and a rookie. It's hard to do mock drafts. I'm the 8th pick. Where should I go? Okay, so let's say, for example, those are the 3 players you're keeping, because I don't think Javonte Williams is considered a rookie, but maybe because he was a rookie last year, you get to keep him. I don't know. But either way, in terms of where you're going with your first pick, I think you should probably be addressing the best available player. Most likely is going to be a wide receiver. I feel like a lot of teams in keeper leagues keep their star running backs so that they don't have to, have to go back into the draft and get another one. So I think you're starting off going wide receiver. That's my opinion there and my suggestion. Okay. All right. What we're gonna do first and foremost, I want to get to drafting. So let me transition here. Let's do this. So let's transition. The ball's coming. Don't get scared. You'll be fine. All right. So we're gonna travel to Underdog. My question is, I'm probably gonna hop into one of these, right? My question is, does anybody else want me to make a private room? Do we have another 11 heads in here that would want to hop in? Because if we do, for a $3 entry, I'm willing to draft against you guys. I just don't know if there's 11 heads in here that are down to do that. That's the question. Moneybags24 says, damn, why did you skip my question? What question? Is it in the chat? Let me see if I can scroll back up. I downloaded it with the name, but they won't let me deposit because they don't have the approval in my state. Am I still eligible for the draft kit? No, unfortunately, you won't be. The next best way to get my fantasy football draft rankings for 2022 would be to go to the description. I have a Patreon link. A lot of you are saying I'm down. Okay, cool. I'll set that up right now. Let me go ahead and let me just privatize it real quick so I can kind of get everybody settled. The best way that you would go about potentially getting my draft rankings would be to go to Patreon and sign up there. Again, I don't know how the state rules work. I don't know what state you're in, country, stuff like that. So if it doesn't let you deposit, then the next best way would be Patreon. Thank you. All right, let me create a private draft. Yes, I would like to make a private draft. Share this draft. Okay, so we're going to probably do a couple of these. I'm just going to post it in the chat, and if you click on it, you should be good to go. We'll turn off notifications there, and then I will transfer back to that screen, and then I'll obviously be trying to answer questions and keep it moving with y'all. Let's see here. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see here. Rather always says, can you rate my team? Sure, let's see this. We have quarterback as Josh Allen. Wide receiver 1 is Higgins. I like that. Judy is number 2. That's great. Mixon, Saquon. Oh my God, we're looking good. Flex is Fournette. Awesome. Ertz is perfectly fine. You have the Ravens defense, Rams kicker, which is Matt Gay. Bench is Stevenson, Patterson, Thielen, and Derek Carr. I mean, listen, you have 3 top 12 running backs, in my opinion. You have a top 12 wide receiver, top 24 in Judy. You have a top 8 to, I think, probably 9, let's say top 10 tight end in Ertz. Both top 12 kickers and defenses. Really good depth in terms of the ability to play Thielen on matchups that are advantageous considering how much touchdown upside he has. Patterson is, I don't know why, slept on. The guy was okay, the draft is already starting. That's kind of crazy. You guys are absolute monsters. So right now, rather 08, you're in a pretty good spot, to say the very least. Okay, what pick am I overall? Did I get the 11th pick? Okay, cool. So for those of you who are paying attention, this is a half PPR league, but I'm not going to draft it in the idea, like I'm willing to lose my $3 entry, but I'm going to draft it in the idea that I'm playing like a redraft, right? I'm not going to draft for best ball, okay? So I'm going to address quarterback and tight end at their correct positions. I'm not going to wait and draft 4 quarterbacks in the last 4 rounds, right? So like for those of you who are trying to get an idea of, hey, what is Andrew doing at the 1.11 spot? Hopefully this can give you a little bit of perspective. But yeah, we're certainly going to do more drafts after this one as it starts in 17 minutes or 17 seconds, minutes. It'll probably take like 20 minutes to do the draft, but hopefully while we're doing that, I could just filter through, answer questions. I do want to do this view where I have the draft board up so that everyone can see it. Obviously, I'm in the way, and I apologize for that, but at least you'll be able to see my team right here. Okay. Dyer says in the chat, quick question. In a 12-team league, I have the 10th pick. I was thinking about going Mixon. What do you think? In a 12-team league, if you're able to get Mixon in the first, I'm perfectly fine there. Again, he's got to be the best available running back at that point, and typically in most scenarios, he is. Eric says, Javonte, Elijah, Etienne, Penny. My running backs, is that good enough for a 10-team league in a full PPR? I think that's perfectly fine. I think Javonte Williams could be a top 12 back. I think Etienne could be a top 15. Penny could, surprise us. Elijah Mitchell is probably an RB2 lower end though, because of lack of receiving work, potential touchdowns. So overall, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's enough. But you must have gotten a lot of upper tier tight end, quarterback, wide receiver value because of the discounts you took at running back. So I think you'll be just fine. Andrew G in the chat says, I'm about to take your money. Yeah, listen, I have the money. I'm just here to have fun and try to teach you guys as much as I possibly can. So yeah, after this draft is concluded, I'll probably drop another link in there and try to get as many guys in there as possible. I'm just answering questions. Can I get the YouTube chat onto my screen? I can, but it might it might clutter it. I'm just gonna try to say your name and then answer the question and just keep it moving. Obviously, I'll try to pay attention to the draft as much as I can. It might not immediately, I might auto pick, but I'll try to keep an eye on it. That's why I'm looking at it from this draft board view. For context, regardless of where you're drafting, Yahoo, NFL.com, ESPN, if they have the ability for you to look at your draft like this while you're drafting, it makes it significantly easier to understand what the heck is going on instead of just looking at the available players, because at least you'll know, okay, the players around me need this position, or the players around me need that position. Okay, nonetheless, let's see here. First round pick, Barkley, Swift, All right, I like my running back. Who's the best available wide receiver? Yep, no, we're going Barkley. Thank you very much. I'll take that. All right, so let me go to the chat. What do we have here? Is this a best ball format? Technically, it's a best ball format, but I'm drafting as if it's not, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm drafting as if this is a redraft league, and I'm playing with that in mind, just to kind of give you a better understanding as to how I would approach the draft. All right, double running backs go there. Oh, so it's either I go Kamara or I go Kelsey. That's literally my thought process. Do I want to allow this guy to have Kelsey? I mean, I don't mind giving Kelsey. It's a matter of, do I want running back? Yeah, let's go running back. Let's just take Alvin Kamara. Let's hope this man doesn't get suspended, and then we'll see what the future rounds entail for me. I'm just going to let the draft sit as such. This guy should probably take Kelsey or one of these people, but we'll see what happens. Okay, what are we looking at in the chat? Wolf says go. What's your strategy from rounds 5 through 10? It depends on what kind of team I've built, Lewis. Purely that's what it depends on. Because if I've gone ahead and I've stabilized a really strong, base or core of players that are going to kind of sit there and just develop and put up great points every single week, then, I can, from rounds 5 through 10, just grab backup players that are going to sit on bench, that are going to have high upside, and just kind of help me out as the season progresses. Let's see some of these questions. Wyatt says, what is this? Got a text message. All right, let me answer that. Wyatt, where's Wyatt's question? All right, so Wyatt, okay, there was a couple donations sent in. I'm going to get there in a second, but Wyatt was saying, in a 1 running back, 2 wide receiver, 3 flex league, does running back and wide receiver value change? No, because you're allowed to start just as many running backs as you normally would be able to. In fact, you'd be able to start 4 in this kind of a league. So I still think that the value of running back and wide receiver stays relatively stable in that regard. Okay, so there were a couple donations that were sent in. I'm going to address those right now, guys. Wolf says, where's the draft at right now? Okay. So Wolf says, I'm having a really hard time deciding what to do with the 2-3 turn. I'm the first pick taking Jonathan Taylor. Can't decide if I should go Andrews or a wide receiver. If you can get Andrews at the back end of the second round, I would. Because again, that extremely high level of tight end production is not going to be able to be found from the tight end position in the 4th, 5th, unless you get lucky with Kittle and Waller falling to you in the 5th. So I'm 100% down with the idea of taking Taylor, following with Andrews, maybe getting another running back like Chubb, and then in the 4th and 5th rounds going double wide. Thank you, Wolf. Steven C20 says, I'm at the 1.6 of my draft. Should I have went? Oh, so you're at the 1.6 of this draft. Should you have went Chase? Now look, this is a half PPR scoring format. Because of that, I'm 1,000% fine of going Eckler. I actually prefer that. That's what I would have done. Steven, thanks. Appreciate the donation. Lenny says, will Marquise Brown have an efficient year? Will he have an efficient year? I mean, the quarterback upgrade is significant. The offensive change in terms of the scheme certainly will help him. I don't know if he's going to get 149 targets again, but I think the ability to start the first 6 games of the season with just automatically having no DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup and being in a position where he's just continuously getting maybe 8 to 10 targets a game will kind of set up, Kyler Murray in that mentality of, hey, I got to keep this guy as, efficient as possible and get him the ball every single week, even after week 6 and DeAndre Hopkins returns. If anything, defenses are going to be double covering D-Hop, and Marquise Brown may have a little bit of an opening there to make even more noise. Who would I have taken in a full PPR? I think I still take Eckler there. Yeah, I still take Eckler there in a full PPR. Now that I'm thinking about it, in my PPR rankings, Steven C20, I'd probably still go Eckler. Okay, let's see what's coming on down the line here. So we got a bunch of wide receivers going. Obviously, that was anticipated. I'm just going to have to make some noise with whatever wide receivers I take if I get the chance. Otherwise, maybe Kyle Pitts, maybe Josh Allen. There's a lot of potential still left on this board for your boy to kind of take advantage of. We're going to go ahead and play it by, just seeing what comes to me. Will O'Brien in the chat says, I'm the 1.04 of the draft. How's it looking? I'm liking the way it's looking so far. Listen, I think it's really hard to mess up the first 3 rounds of a draft. If you just consistently are grabbing great players, you should be perfectly fine, right? Like, as long as you're not reaching on value, as long as you're not taking Kyle Pitts in the 2nd right now, obviously you might have to take him. Literally, I talk about Kyle Pitts immediately off the board. Andrew, you can't have it. This is why it's tough to do draft with you guys. Because as soon as I mention a player, they're just swiped. Hey, Andrew, what's Dallas talking with Antonio? Maybe your phrasing of the question was a little bit weird. But I'm assuming you were talking about if Antonio Brown may go to the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if that's like actually in the realm of possibility. But running backs are available. Okay, we're chilling. All right, so this kind of shows you my hand as to what I think of Allen Robinson this year, that I'm willing to take him in my 3rd round. DJ Moore goes there. That's fine. And then Scary Terry. That's perfectly fine. Your boy's going to look at the draft. Dude, I mean, can I really allow this to go back? I think I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and just kind of, I'm going to go for it in this regard. Because I look at these wide receivers, I think I think I'll be fine. I'm going to take Zeke. I'm going to triple stack here and just abuse teams with my running backs. Okay, let's see here. Courtland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy? I'd much rather have Courtland Sutton. Much rather. Dave says, my fantasy league picks defensive players. They are never talked about. But who are the few players I could target? Listen, I have no idea what the values of IDP players are, which is the acronym for individual defensive player. I have no idea. I haven't played in an IDP league in, I don't even know. How many years has it been? 2014? I think that was the last time I played in an IDP league. So I don't know who the top tier player would be in that regard. And I don't really even know how many points people get per tackle. So I'm probably not the right person to ask. But I appreciate you, supporting the channel, being here. Let's see. What do we got? Okay, so a couple more. Let me try to scroll up and see if there's any more comments here. Can you, if you see bad picks, can you call them out? I mean, look, what is? It depends what you constitute as a bad pick, right? Like, I think every pick can be a perfect pick because I don't really know what the outcome is going to be of that, overall commitment to a player. Like, for example, right? In the video I posted yesterday, I talked about DJ Moore, is right here, right? I talked about how in a half PPR scoring format, in the third round, I am not comfortable with him being my number one wide receiver, mainly because the fact that he has had more performances outside of the top 36 wide receivers than in the top 12 in the last 3 years, right? He is more boom than he's more bust than he is boom. And even in those middling weeks, he's only scored 4 touchdowns each of the last 3 years. So he's never really like having incredible performances. He's good, but he's not like crazy upside, right? But it doesn't mean he can't have that this year. Like, history of fantasy football gives us an indication based on variables as to what we can potentially anticipate to see, but it doesn't 100% mean that that is going to be the outcome, right? Because there's injuries, there's so many variables, there's changes that happen in a given year that I can't 100% look at a pick and say, yeah, that's a bad pick. If someone takes Carson Wentz next, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's a bad pick. But objectively, it's really hard to have a bad selection, especially if you believe in that player, because hey, I believe in Allen Robinson. Maybe somebody doesn't want to have him in the third round. They think he's a 5th round player, but I believe in him. Therefore, I take him there. So I don't think there's really like objectively bad picks unless you're, you're throwing on purpose. It'd kind of be hard to kind of say specifically, hey, you're throwing, Let's see here. What are your thoughts on taking DeAndre Swift around the 8 through 10 range? I mean, listen, I think that's perfectly fine. I personally have recently gotten to the position where I'm like, yo, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, I'm perfectly fine with either of them. Either way, it's great. So if you're able to get him from the 8 through 10 range, that's fine by me. I still think he's a top 8, 9. I think I have him as my number 9 ranked running back right now, if I'm not mistaken. But look, I mean, the amount of drafts I've done where I get Swift is kind of crazy because he's really like back end of the first round player. What have we had happen so far? Look, okay, so like Juju Smith-Schuster going in the 4th round, okay? That just happened right there, okay? But my finger got cut off, right over there. Is that a bad pick? No, because again, there's a very good chance that he could go in. I've even made the argument this offseason that he could go in, be the immediate slot wide receiver, and see upwards of 120 total targets this year. Because, over the last 3 years, Tyreek Hill has had 70 plus targets from the slot position. You go ahead and vacate those, you put him in. He's a wide receiver that each of the last 2 full seasons when he was with Big Ben, when he had a stud quarterback, 2018, 2020, he was either top 12 or top 24 wide receiver. So, even though you may be taking players in spots that other people maybe not, maybe aren't comfortable with, I still think they're all great picks. Now, here's the thing. Like the first team, this is a bold statement. Taking Taylor and then being like, yo, I'm not taking another running back for the rest of this damn draft. It's a bold statement. But you can get away with it because you can find Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevensons. You can get Cordero Pattersons, Antonio Gibsons, Josh Jacobs way later down in the draft. And they can suffice as an RB2 because the rest of your team is pulling the rest of the weight, Andrew, how do you feel about stacking? I think stacking is perfectly fine. I think I'm much more inclined to select the best available player for my team rather than explicitly try to stack for the sake of stacking. I always want to put forth the best team. And if I'm capable of doing so with the selection and it just so happens to be a stack, so be it. It's good to go. Yes, it's exactly a hero RB status. And it's a good hero RB situation to be in because Jonathan Taylor, he is an absolute superhero. Maybe I need to pull out the gauntlet and snap him away. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so I'm almost on the clock here. A couple quarterbacks were taken. Kyler, Mahomes, Lamar, Mahomey. Okay, so let's see here. Available players. Obviously, I need to address wide receiver. The guy after me will probably have to do the same. Let me see. What is he at? Yeah, he's already taken some. So, of the available, I really do like Rashad Bateman, and that's probably where I'm going with here. I do like DK Metcalf. I think he's a top 24 player. Again, the quarterback position is going to be in a little bit of flex, but I still think he is talented enough to get the job done there. But yeah, I think Rashad Bateman certainly is going to fill into that Marquise Hollywood Brown role. That's mainly the reason why I took Zeke in the 4th, because I knew at least I could get one of these guys that I like. Obviously, Michael Thomas didn't drop to me like I would have hoped, but I'm perfectly fine in the scenario I'm in. Quarterbacks that are available. We have Lance, Burrow, and the gang. At this point, what round are we in? We're in the 6th. I'm probably thinking, if I let the quarterback position go, we've already had 1, 2, 3, 4 go here. I don't mind it going too much. Yeah, I don't mind it going too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little bit crazy. I'm going to take my Schultz and I'm just going to let it ride. Stephen Talbot sent in a donation, said, could I justify Justin Jefferson as the 2nd pick in a PPR? Yes, 100%. Anytime we have a conversation as to whether or not it's X player or Christian McCaffrey, you can always justify X player because of what Christian McCaffrey has produced in the last 2 years, which he's consistently produced fantasy points, but he's also consistently produced being on the injured reserve. And that is just the fact of the matter. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Trevor Rounds says 10-man league, PPR. Pick 2 out of the 3 to keep. Okay, let's see here, Trevor. What do we have? We have DK in the 7th, Waddle in the 7th, or Judy in the 8th? Ooh, good question. Look, I don't know what that DK Metcalf quarterback is going to look like next year. Maybe they have the worst record in the league and they end up taking the Alabama kid. I don't know what's going to happen. And maybe that helps DK in the future. But for right now, like, I'm thinking Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Waddle might be the guys I'd rather have, which is kind of crazy to even say. But yeah, let me think about that, because I know I'm keeping Waddle. It's just a matter of Jeudy or DK. I got to think about that quarterback scenario. How long can Russell Wilson play for, and how long will it take the Seahawks to get a franchise quarterback, within their locker room once again? Let's see. What do we have? Would you keep Najee Harris or mix in a half PPR? If there's no keeper penalty, right? Let's say, for example, you can just keep this player every single year for the next 5 years plus, whatever. I would say like that would kind of go into the mind of like, who would you rather have in a dynasty? Which I would say I'd rather have Najee Harris. But if this is like hey, you can keep him for 1 year and then the next year you got to let him go, I'm probably in a position where it's like it's a 50-50 in a half PPR. I'm thinking it's still Najee, but I wouldn't mind the mix and play there. So for right now, I'd say Najee Harris going forward. But not in a bad spot. Did I like miss my pick? Maybe I did. Sorry, I forgot to pop this up. So so let's see how this goes about. We have Jalen Hurts come off the board, and then Joe Burrow there. We have a couple running backs, obviously wide receivers taken. Like, you see, this is not a bad spot here. I mean, this right here. You can see my mouse cursor, I'm assuming. This is how you play best ball, right? This is how you do it. Now, I'm over here not playing best ball. I'm over here just playing, hey, this is the team I want to draft because I want 3 stud running backs. I want to make sure I get my wide receivers in those dead zones of the running back position. Grab a tight end that I believe in. Again, I may be the only person who thinks that Dalton Schultz is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than Kittle and Waller. I may be the only person that holds that opinion. So be it, if that's the case. But, I'm rolling with that. So we got the Stevens question. A couple more in the chat. Again, first and foremost, I'm going to thank you guys for being here. If I haven't answered your question yet, and let's say you've asked it like 12 and a half times, and I still haven't answered it, that's on me. I apologize. There's a lot of you and one of me, and I'm going to try to get to that question in order to help you out as much as I possibly can. We're going to be here for a while, so do not worry. I know, me skipping over your question may be, a little bit bothersome, but I'm trying my best. I can assure you that. I appreciate the love and support, guys, in the channel, in the comment section, so thank you. Christian says, I see Jeudy being the Lockett type of player. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm 100% on the same page. I talked about it this offseason in one of my breakout wide receiver videos. Courtland Sutton is very comparable to the profile of what DK Metcalf and Devontae Adams would do. And, that's basically going to be their deep threat. Everything else that Jerry Jeudy does, whether it is out wide or in the slot, should be pretty, comfortable for him, considering Russell Wilson is going to litter him with targets. So I think they'll be in a pretty good spot going forward. I'm just going to lift the draft like this so everybody can kind of see it. Trey Lance, Russell Wilson. I knew quarterback was going to go. I wasn't mulling over the idea that it could just go. I already was kind of under the indication that it probably was going to regardless. So I have Ayuk on my bench. Should I drop him for Isaiah McKenzie? Says rather. No, Ayuk is so much more valuable because Isaiah McKenzie still has to battle with the idea that he is probably, in terms of order, it goes Diggs, Davis, Knox, and then maybe Crowder or McKenzie with one of those running backs. So like he's maybe the 4th or 5th receiving option of the Bills, which again isn't bad because the Bills throw the ball a ton. But at that point, I'm not like, seeing it as a position where I'm like, yeah, I need to make sure. Okay, give me a second here. Let me figure out what I want to do. Yep. Okay. I've already addressed that. Let me see the running back position. I'm perfectly fine there. All right. So what I want to do real quick is we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Renfrow because I actually believe Renfrow's not a bad pick here. And then I have to probably take quarterback on the way back. Otherwise, I go for Kirk Cousins way later. Maybe I forfeit it and I just go Cousins. I don't mind it. Let me think here. I gotta think of, yeah. I'm gonna just fold and go Cousins. If I'm taking a running back at this point, dude, there's so much value still left on this damn board. I can wait on running back. I'm just gonna address my quarterback need then, and we'll come back around the board. Michael Phillips says Albert Okwuegbunam or Hunter Henry as my bench tight end. I'd rather have Hunter Henry. Thank you. Mainly because in this current position, we're most likely going to see Albert be in a rotation. They drafted Greg Dulcich, I think, out of UCLA. They're going to rotate tight ends. They're not going to allow Albert be the number one tight end and only get those targets. I don't think we're going to be in that kind of a scenario. So I'm most likely thinking we're going to be in a position where Hunter Henry is going to just be extremely more valuable considering his touchdown upside. Slushy says Derrick Henry or Austin Eckler. Oh, sorry. He says Derrick Henry over Austin Eckler all day. Personally, would take him in 4th overall. Yeah, listen, in a half PPR standard, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Xavier says in redraft format, do you think going RB is the best strategy this year? I think typically almost every year, depending on where you play, it is the best strategy. And what I mean by that is like, if you have the 4th overall pick and you're in a full PPR, there's a conversation to be had between Jefferson and Eckler. There certainly is. And I'm 100% willing to draft Jefferson in that regard. But in terms of like as a wider spectrum, if I was to just give a broad stroked blanketed answer, yeah, I prefer to have at least 2 running backs in my first 3 rounds. Whether that means taking running back in the first is irrelevant. As long as I just get 2 in my first 3 rounds, I'm happy with it. Why would you take Zeke over ETN? Because I think Zeke is going to score more fantasy points this year. And that's how I want to base my team, by picking the players that are potentially going to score more fantasy points. Can you rank Swiftly, Barkley, Kamara, Mixon in a full PPR? Swift, Barkley, Kamara, Mixon. It probably goes Kamara. Wait, actually, let me think about this. Yeah, Mixon and Kamara are a little bit of a strange duo there. But probably in a full PPR, if Kamara is not getting suspended, he's number 1, then it's Mixon, then it's Swift, then it's Barkley. I think in a full PPR, I'd be pretty comfortable going there. Would you keep Mixon or Javonte Williams? I'd rather keep Mixon. He's got far more value, far more opportunity this year. Stafford versus Dak, Zeke versus ETN. Yeah, listen, if you guys want me to talk about it, listen, this is the way that I look at it. Ezekiel Elliott may have had a very bad late last season. Like, let's say the last 10 weeks, we're back. I'm 100% willing to say that is a fact. I agree with that sentiment because statistically, it is a given. But you have to take into account partially torn PCL, missed a lot of days of practice. If you guys don't remember those, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice reports, the dude was missing a lot of time because he was trying to rehab and stay on the field because they were on their way to the playoffs. And even in the idea where hey, listen, Tony Pollard's a better running back. I get it. Maybe I would like to have Tony Pollard be the RB1 of this team, but that's not the reality of the situation. Unfortunately, we're in a position where Zeke is loved by this offense way too much. Whether it's McCarthy, whether it's Jerry Jones, whether it's Dak, they want to use him and they want to literally run him into the ground because they pay him too much money. So if he's fully healthy this year, the dude is going to be in that same range where he's been in the last couple of years. Again, six consecutive seasons of over 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns, 4 consecutive seasons of over 65 targets and 47 receptions. Like, I'm expecting those numbers. If it doesn't happen, hey, that's on me. I end up losing, some value there because maybe Travis Etienne outproduces him, or Travis Etienne's not the pick and James Robinson comes back and James Robinson starts stealing value. Like, there's so many variables to take into account that you're just like, hey, yes, we'd like to assume one thing, but at this point, I trust the running back in an offense that is far more valuable to have a piece in. And what is this, man? What the heck is this? This is really interesting. Okay. Okay, anyway, we're good to go. Ryan says, look at his stats the last 2 years. Are you taking into account, Ryan, that he didn't have Dak in 2020 and that Andy Dalton was the starting quarterback? Ben DiNucci? If you're taking that into account, then sure. I'll look at his last 2 years and think, yeah, he actually played well with the given, hand that he was dealt. When you don't have Dak in the quarterback position, what do you think defenses do? They stack the damn box. You go back to 2020's next gen stats. Go look at how many stacked boxes he played against 8 or more defenders in the box. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, Zeke gets, I don't know why Zeke gets such a bad shake, but hey, listen, I'll die on this hill this year. If it ends up burning me at the crisp, by all means, that's fine. The fact that I get Cordero Patterson here is ridiculous, but we're gonna take that. Of the available wide receivers, I'm not opposed to a couple of these guys. I mean, I think they should be fine, but I'm looking for way more upside. Like, I'm almost at the point where I'm like, I don't want to show my hand. Bailey pick. Bailey, don't take the player I wanted. Thank you, Bailey. I'm almost at the point where I'm like, yo, let me just go for like ridiculous upside now at wide receiver and just kind of figure it out from there. Okay, so we need to start banning these channels. Okay, Bobby had a question, says standard league, going for Christian McCaffrey in the second overall. Would you rather have a tight end or a wide receiver or a running back or wide receiver on the 2-3 turn? I think it depends who's available, because if I get Christian McCaffrey in the first, I'm, especially in a standard league, right? I'm not as high up on the idea of, hey, let me go ahead and grab a tight end early, because I mean, I still think tight ends have value, but I'm assuming it's probably in your best interest to go running back, wide receiver. But again, if Andrews shows up there and there's still good enough running backs to where I could take Andrews in the second, wait 2 picks, and then in the third, get a running back that I'd like, I'm good with that. But right now, I'm probably leaning towards the idea of running back, wide receiver on that 2-3 turn there, Bobby. Let's see here. Rate my team. I have Burrow, Mixon, Jones, AJB, McLaurin, Albert O, Chargers defense, Carlson. How many team leagues is this? 12? We have Allen Robinson, Hunt, and Walker on the bench. I mean, listen, I think it's a pretty solid team. You go Mixon and Jones with the first 2 picks. You take AJB in the third. You take McLaurin in the fourth. I'm not too much of a fan of McLaurin, but hey, whatever gets the job done in terms of improving his quarterback position. You get Allen Robinson later. You get Burrow after that. You take Kareem Hunt and Kenneth Walker. Keep adding depth. I'm fine with everything except for your tight end. I really don't think Albert Okwuegbunam is going to be that much of a help to your team ultimately, but I could be wrong. Otherwise, I'm liking the team. Casey says, thoughts on the team? I have Trevor Lawrence as my quarterback. Okay, that's already a head scratcher. Javonte, Derrick Henry, that's a great start. Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Brandon Cooks. Okay, we're good there. Hawkinson, AJ Dillon. Yeah, listen, I think everything's perfectly fine except for that quarterback. I don't think you can trust him technically. I know the significance of the offensive pieces around him that have obviously kind of enhanced. When we're talking about the fact that last year his top 3 targets were like, what was it? Marvin Jones, Laquan Treadwell, Laviska Shenault, and now we're going to walk into a scenario where we'll have Marvin Jones, then you add Zay Jones, you bring in Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Travis Etienne. Significant offensive improvements, and the line gets better, and you have a better offensive coordinator. These are all things I love to see. But with that said, I'm not 100% certain of if we're in a position here where we can, if we can trust them on a weekly basis, especially against top tier defenses. It becomes really difficult to do so. Really difficult. McCaffrey never produced great RBs in Green Bay either. What? McCarthy. My bad. I read that wrong, Ryan. McCarthy never produced great running backs in Green Bay either. Look at Eddie Lacy. What do you mean? What do you mean look at Eddie Lacy? I'm so confused. I'm fairly certain Eddie Lacy's had pretty good fantasy seasons, my guy. If you want, I'll go look at it, but I'm fairly certain Eddie Lacy had himself some pretty good years there. Let's see here. Okay, so let's look at Eddie Lacy's history. So Eddie Lacy in a half PPR scoring format was drafted in 2013. Okay, in the first 2 seasons of his career, Eddie Lacy was the number 7 overall running back in fantasy, and in the following year was the number 6 overall running back in fantasy. So what part of those 2 years weren't successful? I don't get it. Now, if you want to say and argue, hey, Andrew, what about his 3rd year? I get it. The dude blew up to 280, 300 pounds. You know, and then he started missing games, and then they're like, yo, we can't deal with this guy. Get him out, right? Kept it moving. But it's not like McCarthy ignored Lacy in 2013 and 2014. The guy was a top 7 running back each of those 2 years in a half PPR. So, I mean, listen, if that's the numbers I'm getting them. I'm fine with it. Slushy says, what's your ideal pick at number 7? My ideal pick at 7 would be... Let me think here. Ideal pick would be Jonathan Taylor. No, but in reality, if let's say Taylor, McCaffrey, Jefferson, Kupp go, Eckler's gone, Henry's gone. If I'm sitting at 7 and it's between Cook, Najee Harris, and Mixon and Chase, I'm okay with one of those 3 running backs. As to who, that's up to you. If you want my opinion, I'd probably go Najee or Mixon there. But ultimately, I think that's pretty much what you'll see. Cameron says Derek the King Henry or Saquon. 100% King Henry. I don't think that's even close. Keenan Allen or CeeDee Lamb? Darth Raider, dude. 100% CeeDee Lamb. 100%. Yeah. I mean, look, Keenan Allen has the consistency, but what CeeDee Lamb presents is ridiculous potential upside in terms of target opportunity and the amount of work he'll get from Dak this year. What the heck is this? Okay, interesting. How's your day been, says Alberto. My day has been, listen, my day just started, okay? Let's keep it a full stack. Like, what day is it? Saturday? Like that's where I'm at right now, okay? I don't even know what day it is sometimes. I'm just grinding content so often that it's just like everything's melding together at some points. So I appreciate you asking that. I hope you guys are doing well. I appreciate those of you who are in the channel, supporting, clicking the like button. We are in the 11th round of said draft. My next pick is coming up. People are drafting their second quarterbacks, which again makes sense because they're trying to take my money. I'm perfectly fine just continuing the draft the way I have. Looking at the available players, the running back position, if I had Dalvin Cook, I would have wanted to take in Alexander Mattison by now. Looking at wide receiver, I'm okay there. I don't really need a second quarterback. I'm looking for upside at wide receiver. First and foremost, give me a Jacoby Myers because I can just guarantee the targets are going to be there. And then I'll probably just snag another running. I might just take Alexander Mattison just to spite whoever wants to go with Dalvin Cook. Just that, I would do that in my actual leagues, guys, by the way. If Bailey lets me do this, I'll do it just to prove a point that in my own leagues, I don't even care if I have Dalvin Cook. I will steal the handcuff just to hold it ransom because hey, the Dalvin Cook manager is gonna have to come to me every week and be like, hey, what do you want from Alexander Mattison, Andrew? What do you want for him? And I'll be like, listen, dude, I don't want anything. I just want to, wait and see what happens. I'm not hoping for an injury. I hope Dalvin Cook plays the whole year for you, buddy. But I'm also waiting to see what happens because you never know. Okay, let me get to the chat. Let me see what's going on here. Bing, Bob. Okay. All right. I need some comforting having Allen Robinson. Do you really think? Yeah, listen, I can. The Rolodex of information is going to start coming out. You ready for this? When you look at the number 2 wide receiver to the Los Angeles Rams over the last couple of years, right? They've still had incredible numbers, right? Even with Jared Goff, you go back to where Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were, primary options, or Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. They all had, 2 solid wide receivers in those couple years. You bring in Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp goes to being the number 1 overall wide receiver. From weeks 1 through 9, prior to Robert Woods going down with his ACL injury that he sustained at practice, he was the number 12 or 9. I think it was the number 9 overall wide receiver in fantasy prior to his ACL injury, averaging like 12.47 fantasy points per game on average in a half PPR. If you just go ahead and now you insert Allen Robinson into that role, I know he's an older wide receiver, but when he's been given opportunity, he's played well. And by all means, this is the best quarterback in the best scenario he's ever going to be in his entire career. He's played with Blake Bortles, and then he's played with Midwest Blake Bortles, which is Mitchell Trubisky. So you now bring him with elite quarterback play in an elite offense that helps their offensive, wide receivers just continue to make plays. Oof. I'm all in on the Robert Woods train. You don't have to be. I understand there's some concern maybe if he's fallen off. But hey, listen, what Robert Woods was able to do last year, what OBJ was able to do as soon as he came to this offense last year, it keeps me pretty excited about the potential of A-Rob. Okay, Cooper says, pick 10 in a 10-team PPR. Is it Mixon Swift? Is Mixon Swift back-to-back a bad idea? No, I like the idea, actually. Casey says, Matt Ryan or Trevor Lawrence to start? I'd rather have Matt Ryan this year. Listen, I think what Trevor Lawrence presents in terms of a rushing upside is certainly something that I'm willing to invest in. What did he have? Like the 6th most rushing yards amongst all it wasn't that much. I think he was probably like top 10 in terms of rushing yards amongst quarterbacks last year. He's not at the elite level where it's like in the Jalen Hurts, Trey Lance conversation, but he's going to get himself 250, 300 rushing yards. He's like in the Daniel Jones conversation, but I still rather have Matt Ryan. I think the offense is far more equipped to score. Okay, we saw a couple donations come in. I need to go ahead and address those. DJ 622, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Says, yo, Drew, what up? Back for another year. LFG, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And then Gunmai says, how you doing, Andrew? PPR format, Javonte Williams or Fournette? I am slowly but surely getting to the point where I may consider Javonte Williams. But until Melvin Gordon, somehow is traded or something like that, I won't be able to do it. If I'm sitting there in a draft, I'm in the 2nd round, and I have to decide in a full PPR whether to go with Fournette, who I know is in one of the best offenses in the league and is the primary back, or Javonte, who is in a up and coming offense but still has Melvin Gordon in his back pocket. I just rather take Leonard Fournette there. But I'm getting to the point that maybe, just maybe, in a couple weeks, if we hear some things about Javonte getting 65% of those snaps, maybe I'll pull in that direction. But for right now, I think Fournette just kind of has solidified his spot there. Okay, so a couple selections are coming in. Let me see what's on the board. Okay, we're decent there. How many running backs do I have? I mean, I've pretty much locked in a lot of running back players. Wide receivers, okay. I mean, I took a discount on wide receiver. There's a reason why I went Zeke in the 4th, mainly just because I'm like, I can live with my wide receiver 3 being a guy that I can play matchups with. Speaking of playing matchups, give me Nico Collins. Just so we're all on the same page as to why I'm okay with a wide receiver 3 on my team being an average player. I think wide receiver 3s in a 12-team league, every team is going to have 3 top 36 players, right? That's what they're starting on a weekly basis. So if I'm in a position where I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, okay, hold up, let me see here. I took that as a tight end. You know what? I'm just going to go ahead, yoink that real quick. If we're sitting in a league where the top 36 wide receivers are started every week, and let's say, for example, my third wide receiver isn't a top 36, at least I have the comfort of being able to pick up a guy off the waiver wire or play a guy in a matchup to where they can sit in as my wide receiver 3 without me having to make a huge investment on that player. Because really, it's a revolving door. That wide receiver 3 position is always going to move based on matchups, based on bye weeks, based on injury. And that's always going to be the rotation. So I'm not 100% like, there are teams in this draft, and let me see if I can go find them specifically. There are teams in this draft, like George here, that went Cooper Kupp, Mike Williams, Gabe Davis, right? Like his top 3 receivers are machines, right? They're never going to leave the lineup. But at the same time, he's going to have to choose between a Jerry Jeudy and Armando. I know he's drafting best ball, but you never know. You see hero, running back scenarios in some of your drafts. But nonetheless, like in the idea of having 3 stud wide receivers, great. If I can get it, it's fine. But if I'm rotating that third guy, especially in a best ball, I think it's fine that way. Because even though he's going for absolute upside, he didn't need to overcumber with, like, he could have stopped at Amon-Ra. At Amon-Ra, he could have went with a running back there and been just perfectly fine. Because one of those, at least 3 of those 4 wide receivers are going to be studs. If you want to play one in the flex, that's fine. But I think it's a huge, kind of rotational manner there at that point. Let me see what's available. Tight end I just took. Maybe I just dip back in the quarterback just to kind of mess with everything. I will be queuing up another draft in just a bit. Just want to answer some more questions in the chat. Thoughts on Rondale Moore? Rondale Moore. Last year, there was 3 good games that he had. Those 3 games, not by any accident, were the games that he was targeted the most in 2021. If you give him good opportunity, he may be able to develop into a player that could be a consistent contributor. But there are so many weapons in that offense, whether it's Connor, Darrell Williams out of the backfield, you have Marquise Hollywood-Brown, you have AJ Green, you have Zach Ertz, and you bring in DeAndre Hopkins after week 6. Rondale Moore, in my opinion, unless they're going to specifically use him as a slot wide receiver and only their slot wide receiver, and then also give him carries out of the backfield, jet sweep, stuff like that, unless they're going to utilize him in that manner, I haven't seen enough in terms of, how can I trust the guy if he's not going to touch the ball more than 5 or 6 times in a game, right? Like, it's tough to trust that, especially if he doesn't have the home run ball effect potential there. Nick Chubb or Pittman at the start of the 3rd round? That's a good question. I guess it depends on what your first 2 picks were. If you've already gone ahead and it depends on multiple things. Depends on what your 2 first picks were. Depends on what scoring format you're in. Also depends on whether or not Kareem Hunt gets traded in the next couple weeks. Because if Kareem Hunt is on the move and Nick Chubb is the lone back, I'd much rather have him. But if you're sitting in a scenario where Hunt is going to be there, you still have Jacoby Brissett for the first 11 weeks, and then you already have taken a wide receiver within your first 2 rounds, I'm probably in a position where I'm like, yeah, let's address running back so we don't have to, start Antonio Gibson every week or have to reach for another player in the 5th. Like, I don't have to start AJ Dillon every week as my RB2. So I'm probably leaning towards that running back there. Ryan Johnson says Mixon won't get as much pass play as with Higgins and Chase at a full go. Yeah, Mixon has never had a wide majority of the receiving work on that offense. I mean, like, when you put it in perspective, like, he on 3rd and long plays last year, he played like 16% of the snaps. And then during the 2-minute drill, you never saw him out in the field. It was either Samaje Perine or Chris Evans, right? Like, you're never going to see him in that rotation. He's going to get targets, but he's just not going to be that 3rd down back that we want him to be. He needs to certainly carry the ball 18 times on the ground and score a rushing touchdown. And we're 100% good to go as long as he continues to do that, which all signs point to that being the case. Connor or Zeke in a full PPR? I'm still going Zeke. Harry Wolf says, what pick in 10-team PPR would you prefer 3rd or 6th? 3rd pick, full PPR, Kupp or Jefferson. 6th pick, assuming Taylor, McCaffrey, Kupp, Jefferson are gone. That's 4 players gone. Eckler's gone. In the 5th, Henry's gone. Maybe at 6th pick, it's probably Chase. So you're probably kind of looking down the barrel of a couple wide receiver first rounds here. Now, if you're completely against that idea, then by all means take one of the running backs that are available. Najee, Mixon, Kamara, Cook, etc. Higgins, top 10 wide receiver. Yeah, I think I have him at number 11 right now, Michael. Don't forget about D'Ernest Johnson. Yeah, listen, D'Ernest Johnson, I'm not forgetting about. I just think that what Kareem Hunt presents in terms of being a bigger threat on third down as well, it may lead to a couple more catches from Nick Chubb, a couple more opportunities for him to get, especially down on the goal line. They trusted they trusted Kareem Hunt as much as they did Nick Chubb last year in the first 6 weeks of the season in terms of goal line opportunity. They had equal numbers, and that is scary because if that's going to continue to be the case, then you're in a position where you're like, yo, I don't know if I can trust Chubb if D'Ernest Johnson is in that role as well. Okay, what do we have here in terms of, I mean, look, it's just all handcuffs galore. We have upside here. Okay, so let's take another quarterback just to kind of roll with the options we have here. I'm okay with a Ryan Tannehill pick. It's fine. Let's go back to the chat because that was the most important thing real quick. Okay, question came in from Studley. Studley Stew. Okay, 3 players to keep in this league. I have Chase and Jefferson. You think Pittman or Higgins for the third? Holy moly. Love the content. Thank you very much. Okay, that is a very interesting question. Do we keep Higgins or Pittman going forward? I'm probably saying you keep Higgins. Now, the main reason I'm saying that is because if you're in a position where, wait, I'm on the clock again? Ah, damn. Give me Jamison Crowder. I forgot I was on the clock. Sorry. Jiminy Christmas. Your boy got distracted there for a second. Okay. Where were we at? Let me throw the draft board up. I'm trying to remember where we were at. Higgins or Pittman. Okay. So this is what I want to do. Keeper league. I want to pull the chat. I'm thinking T. Higgins. I'm thinking it's probably Higgins because I trust Burrow to be with the team longer than Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is closer to the end of his career than a lot of other, of these veteran quarterbacks. But hey, let's see what the chat says. All right, so I just put up a poll. Vote in a keeper league. Who would you rather have going into 2022 and beyond? T. Higgins or Michael Pittman? It's in the chat. Should be at the very top. I'm thinking Higgins, man, because like if you're able to, with no penalty, continue to keep Higgins, Chase, and Jefferson. I understand Pittman's great, but Matt Ryan is eventually going to go, and Matt Ryan is certainly past his prime in comparison to Burrow, who is only just getting into that prime and is going to bulldoze that division. So that's where I'm thinking right now. I don't know where this draft is. What round are we in? 16? Okay. Again, thank you all for hopping into this draft. I'm going to start by transitioning. I'm certainly going to make my picks here, but I want to go back here just so I could throw the chat back up on screen so that we're all on the same page as to where I'm at. So real quick, what was this? Just Sherman says, do you discuss Dynasty on Patreon? Now, if you ask me a Dynasty question on Patreon, I will answer it. As to whether I have Dynasty rankings, no. At this period of time, there has not been enough traction in my direction. I mean, I've obviously, I consider myself a redraft connoisseur of sorts, and I haven't really, I only play in 2 Dynasty leagues myself, right? I'm not like an Omega Dynasty guy. So if you have questions, I'll 100% be willing to answer them regardless of scoring format, regardless of, keeper, Dynasty, doesn't matter. I'm willing to answer. But in terms of rankings, those will not be there. So if that's what you're going there to look for, then, you do what you do. Okay. What did the poll end up looking like? It's like a 60-40. Okay. Makes sense. Is there a limit on how many drafts you can join with you? No, I don't think there's a limit. I think you just keep doing it. Pittman says, Pittman will have to work harder for every catch and yak. I know, right? Because when you're T. Higgins and you have Mixon in that backfield and then Jamar Chase on the other side of the field pulling double coverage, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to find yourself against number 2 cornerbacks while Pittman's playing against number 1s every single week he plays out there. I like Curtis Samuel more than Jahan Dotson. Yeah, I mean, listen, it just depends on whether Curtis Samuel can stay healthy. That's the pure thing. He hasn't in the last couple of years, and that's been his biggest deficit overall. I wonder if the Bengals will be able to keep both T and Chase. I mean, they're going to do everything in their power to do so because they know that the future is now, and they have to start coughing up money, even though in years past they didn't want to. If okay, let's see here. Thomas Fitzpatrick asked the question: if Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and Justin Jefferson are gone, who do you take in a full PPR? Cooper Kupp. Let's see here. I've never played in a dynasty league. LOL. Yeah, listen, it's really hard to find, like, if you have like 10 homies where they're like, yeah, let's play in a redraft league, but they don't take fantasy like serious all league round, it's going to be hard to find like dynasty player. But there are a lot of websites out there where you can hop into dynasty leagues, but obviously you want to be with the homies, so you can text the dude at like, I don't know, 9 a.m. be like, yo, I want Jefferson. I'm going to do whatever I can to get him off your roster. Let's get this deal done, kind of thing. Damn, this thing's actually kind of leaning towards closer to a 50-50 than I thought. A lot of people like Michael Pittman. Listen, I'm on the same board. I think Michael Pittman's a better player for 2022. But in terms of the future, if he gets to do this with no penalty of keepers, hey, listen, everybody has their opinion. 79 votes. I appreciate you guys who voted there. How do you feel about the Bills' backfield? I think Devin Singletary and James Cook should be fine. I think they're going to dig into each other's work. First one who gets injured pretty much loses the job, and then the other one takes over. But for right now, I think we're fine there. How do you feel about Darrell Henderson? The last thing that I saw about Darrell, did I just auto pick? I did. Okay, let me make sure I don't do that again. Let me take another pick here. Let's do this. I'm just going to mess with McCaffrey owners and take the handcuff. In terms of Henderson, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams official depth chart has Henderson and Akers as the number 1 running back. Never seen anything like that before. I've never seen 2 number 1 running backs on a roster. Never seen that. Never on a depth chart in all my years. But they're kind of adamant on the idea that they want to use 2 running backs. It's all BS. McVay does this every year. He acts like he wants to use 2 running backs, and then when the game time comes, he gives one of them 80% of the touches and the other one plays, every now and then. And then we just keep it moving. That's pretty much been the case for the last couple of years. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hop into another one of these drafts, and I will send you guys a link in the description. Just want to go ahead and give you a fair warning as to what we're doing again. I am making a private lobby, 12-team league, $3 buy-in on Underdog Fantasy. If you guys haven't checked out Underdog Fantasy yet, there's a link down in the description, like the banner says down below. If you go check that out, the link will take you to Underdog Fantasy. If you use promo code Andrew today, when you make a deposit, you'll get a $100 deposit match from Underdog Fantasy, and you'll also get my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings. Again, that's first time deposit using promo code Andrew. So if you're interested in that, check that out. You'll get the you will get the rankings within 24 hours. I am typically given updates at noon every day. A new wave of emails comes in my direction. I filter it, figure out who needs the draft guide, send in their direction. And then I also send you guys weekly Saturday updated rankings for the entirety of August until September 3rd, which is the final weekend of the draft. So if you're interested, check that out. Otherwise, I'm going to be making another one of these lineups or these lobbies, and then I'm going to paste it in the chat right now. And if you hop in, and we're good to go. And we'll once again draft. How do you feel about okay, so we did that one. Andrew G says, I'm a super fan. Thanks for hosting. I'm going to go watch some preseason. Yep, no problem. Have a good one. Why is everyone so down on Burrow? He's got a bunch of weapons. Yeah, listen, Ryan, as of right now, a little bit of transparency. I have him as my number 5 ranked quarterback. I have him ahead of Jalen Hurts and only behind Allen, Herbert, Mahomes, and Lamar. So I really think he's a special player, and I really think he's going to go off this year. That is my opinion. Of course, he may not. He may take some steps back. But again, when he had no offensive line, and T. Higgins hurt for a little bit of that time last year, and he was still able to put up 4,600 passing yards and 34 passing touchdowns, I'm fairly certain he can close the gap and very easily go to, let me end this poll. Thank you for participating in the poll, guys. He could very easily go to being in a position where 5,000 passing yards, 40 passing touchdowns, that's top 6 territory as of the last 2 seasons. The only other quarterbacks that have done that, top 6 categories, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, they've all been in that 44 to 4,200 plus passing range in terms of yards, and then 40 passing touchdowns. I think Burrow could very easily accomplish that. Who should I pick at the 1.03? Depends on scoring format. But typically, I would say in a half PPR, I would go Henry. In a full, I'd go Kupp or Jefferson. So Failure says, about to draft at 7:15. Pick 4 in a 10-team PPR. Should I target who should I target in the first couple rounds? Do we fill out this draft? We need 2 more people to hop into this draft. If there's anybody out there that's willing to hop in, would greatly appreciate that. I'm going to drop the link once again. Who should you be targeting? At the 4th pick in a full PPR league, I'm going wide receiver most likely. So I'm probably taking Jefferson if he's there. If I can get Jefferson there, the 2nd round, I'm hoping that maybe Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, maybe if you're lucky, maybe Barkley Swift fall to you. I doubt it. But if you take Jefferson, then you follow it with an Aaron Jones, and then in the 3rd round, you're able to maybe get a bargain Prage. We see Javonte Williams there. I'm good with that start, man. If not, maybe just maybe we go ahead and pick up like a Pittman and just roll with that in the 3rd. We need 1 more person to join the draft, and then we're all full. I'm going to go ahead and immediately transfer to that scene. Okay, a couple more comments were coming in. Let's see here. What do you think about AJ Brown's upside? What pick do I have? It's going to tell me in a second. AJ Brown, in my opinion, is extremely. I have the 8th pick. Okay, we're in a good spot. I think he's slept on personally. I mean, when I think about AJ Brown and how good of a player he is after the catch, right? All Jalen Hurts has to do is throw to the right side of the field, because I'm sure many of you have seen how much he prefers throwing to the right side of the field in comparison across his body. I don't blame him. At the quarterback position, you're taught not to throw across your body too often, especially when you're making a play where you're running right, throwing left. But anyway, especially mobile quarterback moving out the pocket, nonetheless. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the idea that AJ Brown could very easily be a top 12 wide receiver. I have him at number 13 right now in a half PPR. Just ahead of like Keenan Allen, just behind Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, stuff like that. He's got a lot of upside in a very good offense. I expect the Eagles to win that division. The NFC East should be the Eagles this year. They're the most talented team across the board, in my opinion. And I know there's a bunch of Cowboys fans in here. You know how it goes. The NFC East has had a different league or division winner for like the last 8 consecutive years. You guys won it last year. Congrats. It's going to be the Eagles this year. So I'm all in on Jalen Hurts, and that combo with AJ Brown. It's one that I'm very excited about. John said, would love to do underdog. Stopped by Michigan. Yeah, listen, there's a lot of states in the U.S. that it's not 100% full going. Hopefully in upcoming weeks, there's legislation or stuff that's passed that may allow that. Let's see here. Will O'Brien says, who are you thinking at a 1.05 in the Superflex? At the 1.05, I think I'm still going quarterback. Listen, guys, it would take me a lot of power in my system to take it. Okay, so this is what I would say. If you want to take Jonathan Taylor, you can. But you have to hope that in your 2nd round, Trey Lance or somebody that's a top 10 quarterback, maybe Matthew Stafford, somebody like that drops to you in the 2nd round, which is highly unlikely. But again, it depends on what kind of. Okay, I'm on the board. 1 second, everybody. Let me go ahead and make my pick. Of the available players in a half PPR, I would rather have Mixon at this point. In the last couple of weeks, I've kind of leaned towards Mixon over Dalvin. We'll see where that goes. But right now, I take Mixon at the 1.08. To get back to the question that was on hand in terms of Superflex leagues and 1.05. I'm okay taking Taylor there. But if the rest of your league is going to continue to prioritize quarterback, as I would, or as leagues that I play in typically do, your 2nd round quarterback may end up being at 1.05 Kirk Cousins. And if you're okay with that, then by all means go for it. But in my opinion, I think I'd just rather take a Joe Burrow or a Jalen Hurts at 1.05 and then get a second round running back because of how many people are prioritizing quarterback in their first round. The running back position, the wide receiver position, they're going to trickle down. Like you'll still be able to get at the 1.05 in the second round. You're going to be in a 12, is it 10 or 12 team? I don't know. Let's say it's a 12 team league. At the 2.07, you should still get a top 12 running back, maybe a top 10 running back, which I'm 100% comfortable with after I've kind of determined my quarterback who's going to carry my team in that given season, especially if it's 6 point per passing touchdown. Joseph said that's a nice transition. Thank you. I appreciate that. It was not easy to make. Okay, I'm almost on the clock again. Of the available players, we have Kelce available. I am willing to take a Kelce draft here, if given. Obviously, the two teams that have selected ahead of me here have already gone wide receiver. Maybe they want to double up. Maybe they want to go for running back. And maybe Kelce drops to your boy in the second round at 2.05. Maybe, just maybe. A moment of silence for my Kelce hopes. Thank you. All right. We're obviously, we're going to keep moving. We're going to adapt with the draft. Hey, Andrew, glad to see your mug, man. It's going to be a crazy season. Yeah, listen, I can't wait, man. I can't wait for the season to start. I really can't. It's going to be extremely fun. Okay, so I started Devontae Adams. Nah, listen, dude, I'm far more comfortable just taking my second running back. Just give me Aaron Jones and give me Mixon. I'll deal with wide receiver in the third round, guys. I'm so 100% on this double RB idea. Dude, of course I'm picking in a spot where my head is in the damn way. Of course. I can move myself, but as soon as I move to this position, like it'll cover everything. Anyway. I appreciate that, Forsaken. Thank you. Let's see here. Akers or ETN? Who do you think will have a better year? And who will you have as a keeper? Okay, in my opinion, if I'm this year, I trust ETN more. And in the future, I probably trust ETN more again. So I'd probably just go double ETN in that regard. Let's see here. Steam 20 or Saint Sam 25 says, should I take Rashad Penny or Ramondre Stevenson? Depends on a lot of things. Listen, I think Ramondre Stevenson could very easily be a top 24 running back. Rashad Penny could be a lot better than that if he looks anything remotely close to what he was at the back end of the 2021 year. What's more likely? Ramondre Stevenson getting more touches because of James White's retirement, or Rashad Penny not getting injured? I would lean towards Ramondre. That's where I'd probably go. Tim says, hey, how's your day? I'm doing well. Hope you guys are doing well as well. Thank you. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel with your viewership and, of course, coming out today and asking questions. Who are you? What is this question? Who are you taking at the 10th pick in a 12-team league? Depends who's available, but it's probably running back. As of the available running backs that are probably there, I think I had the 11th pick last draft. I think Barkley, Swift, Kamara, those were available. I'm okay with any of those guys. Probably Barkley, Swift, if you're worried about the Kamara situation and you could just kind of live with that. What the heck is this? Okay, that's cool. Zeke or James Conner, full PPR. MK, I think I answered this a little bit earlier. Maybe you missed it, but I'm fairly comfortable with Zeke in a full PPR. Fairly comfortable there. Ryan, I appreciate you answering all those questions in the chat for those that I missed. Let's see here. What do we have? Higgins versus Pittsburgh or Sutton versus Seattle, non-PPR. We'll get there when we get there, dude. I think you're about 2 or 3 weeks a little too early on that video. That video will come out. There's no rush to starting a lineup right now. You'll be fine. Thoughts on Kmet? I currently have him as my number 12 tight end, or 13. 12 or 13. I think he's 12 in a full PPR, 13 and a half. I think the Bears are going to be so bad that they're going to have to throw a lot this year. That offensive line will not give Justin Fields much time. So he's going to have to look for a shorter dump off route. And that's going to be a lot of Cole Kmet this year. And obviously, he's an extremely talented young player. So I expect him to be top 12 this year. I think this is the year he does it, or at least contends for it. Okay. Auction keeper: Christian McCaffrey, Etienne, or Breece Hall. Oh, sorry. Christian McCaffrey or Etienne and Breece Hall. Give me Etienne and Breece Hall. If we're talking about a keeper league of the future, and just give me the younger guys. At this point, if I'm able to keep those guys every year from here on out, like if I just rather have the youth. Like I know Christian McCaffrey probably has a good amount of time still left in his, in his career, but bro, there's so much risk with that. I know there's just as much risk with Jacksonville and Jets backfields, but we've seen Jacksonville running backs be relevant in the last couple of years. James Robinson, Leonard Fournette, etc. Okay, let me see what this draft looks like. So I'm on the board. Mike Williams just got taken in front of me, and Michael Pittman Jr. Absolute chef's kiss in the 3rd round. We love to see it. Okay, that's done. What do we have here? Your chance of getting Connor's handcuff is greater than snagging Pollard. I don't need Pollard. Pollard, and look, here's the thing. If I'm already worried about Zeke to the point where I think Pollard is necessary to grab in the 7th round, which is typically where he'll go, 8th, 7th round. If I'm at that position where I'm worried enough, then I'm not drafting Zeke. I would go with somebody else. But I'm not worried in that regard. I personally aren't. You may be on a different, train of thought. You may be somewhere else. It doesn't mean that your valid is less, your opinion is less valid than mine. It's not. We both have valid opinions. You go your way, I'm going to go my way. We'll see at the end of the year what happens. You can come back, shove it in my face. I'm definitely not going to be dancing on people when, something happens. I play fantasy football for fun, and I'm just expecting Zeke to just keep being his guy and not have to worry about taking Pollard because, again, Pollard, yes, he has like flex value, but it's very minimal. Like people draft him because they think Zeke will get less touches, therefore Pollard will see more opportunity, therefore score more fantasy points. You go back to last season, man, from like weeks 8 through 18, Pollard had less touches per game and less fantasy points per game, even when Zeke was hurt and underutilized. But anyway, we both have valid opinions. Roll with what you like. The players that you like, you should go after, regardless of what I say. That's what I love about fantasy football. There's no one way of finding success, man. That's oh man, the ability it's like those video games where it's like choose your own path, right? That's what it is. That's what the draft is. It's literally like it's those adventure books. Choose your own adventure. Okay, flip to page 8. You took Zeke. Flip to page 81. You flip. It says your team sucks. You lose this year. All right. Well, I'm not gonna pick that page anymore. I'll learn in the future. But for right now, I think I'll be just fine rolling the way I am. I don't even know how I got to that example, but I got there, gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I somehow managed to find my way to that spot. Okay, so with the available players, I'm taking DJ Moore as my second wide receiver. I love to see that. As my second wide receiver, 100% will have that on roster. So far, I can move myself around. Yeah, let's do that. Let's kind of give some perspective. So far, I've started the draft with Mixon, Jones, Pittman, and DJ Moore. I don't really want to have to draft early tight end. I know Waller came off the board in the 4th. I think I can get Kittle in the 5th. If not, so be it. Schultz, or I'm gonna go grab Cole Kmet in the 10th. I'm not really bugging in that regard. So I think we'll be fine. So far so good. I'm liking everything I'm seeing here. Justin Herbert in the 4th. Woo, baby. Okay, let's see here. There's a couple more questions that got sent in. Or here we go. So there's a question from Kirk T. Saying taking Chubb and Hunt on the same team. I mean, listen, theoretically, if Kareem Hunt is not traded, I think Kareem Hunt is very easily a top 25 running back in fantasy football. Easily. Maybe better. Most likely better. Because with Brissett under center, they're going to run the ball a bunch. So chances of having both on the same squad, I don't mind it. And then if in fact we get to a position where bye bye Kareem Hunt. You're an Eagle now all of a sudden, or you're on the, I don't know. Who's a team who needs a running back? Can anybody like actually name a team that is in desperate need of a running back? I mean, I'm talking about teams that are in a position to win. Like, I'm not talking about Houston needs a running back. Houston needs a lot more than just a running back. Houston needs a new head coach. Houston needs a new offensive line. Houston needs new everything, right? New GM. We'll figure that out when we figure, But I'm 100% on board with the idea of taking Hunt and Chubb in the same draft. I'm good with that. Okay, Franco says, I got the 10th pick in a 12-team league. Do I go double wide receiver or double running back? Or 1-1? Listen, I think you play it by ear. Like, you go to the 10th pick of the first round. You see, okay, what's available? If you like the wide receiver there, you take him. It's purely like a matter of like what ends up happening, because there's a third option there where there's a third and fourth option. Maybe you take wide receiver in the first. Okay, let's say it's like a really good one dropped to you in the 10th pick. Maybe Chase is there. You're like, damn, I'm gonna take Jamar Chase here. You take him, and then it comes back to you in the second round, and Kelsey's still available. You're like, I'm starting wide receiver, tight end, right? Like there are different positions where this might just happen, right? So I'm at a point where I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I want to get a running back, but if other really valuable prospects drop to me, maybe I just punt the position and I'll come back and grab a stud in the third. But for right now, I'm thinking at the 10th pick, Swift, Barkley, those are fun picks to have there. Especially if like the best available wide receivers like Lamb or Diggs, I'd rather have the running back. And then maybe get, a tight end in the second or wide receiver or double up on RB. Okay, we're in the 5th round here. In terms of available options, we still have Cam Akers here that could be my flex player. We have Juju. So we're in a pretty good spot. I think right now, I'm pretty much looking at what's available. Oh, Kyler, yeah, I'm gonna go with Akers, and I'm gonna hope that what I'm expecting to see off this board, because this team has one back, this team has one running back. Let me move my camera where I'm sitting. When I look at Team 10 has one running back, he could go one RB and just be like, okay, I'm gonna just Breece Hall's my guy, and the guy that went Dalvin could be Dalvin's just my guy. But the chances of the draft going into that direction and then coming back and them not taking at least one running back in their next two selections, in my opinion, is I would doubt that to be the case. So I want to grab a running back that I can trust and be my flex, and then in the 6th round, address whatever positional need I get. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm not worried about grabbing my stud third wide receiver. A lot of you guys personally play in leagues where you don't start a third stud wide receiver, so it's a little different, right? You don't have to prioritize that position immediately in that regard. Okay, Ravens need a running back. I 100% disagree with you, Crypto, but hey, your opinion is valid. We'll see what happens with J.K. Dobbins. I think he's going to be perfectly fine in the future. May take him a little while to find his footing this year, but next year for certain, he's going to be a stud. What do we have here? Okay. Oh, what is this question? Okay, so this is Matthew Mag. He said, I have a 2nd pick in a half PPR. I'm a Chargers fan. Is Eckler a fine pick? Yes. Eckler's a perfectly fine pick. Listen, here's the thing. If you said, hey, Andrew, I'm playing in a league where the buy-in is 40 grand, who am I picking at 1.02? Okay? That's a completely different question than, hey, Andrew, I'm a Chargers fan and I have a 2nd pick. Should I go Eckler? Yeah, you should go Eckler because it's fun, right? Like, if there's completely different scenarios. If you're not like, hey, and I don't even think Eckler's at a point where it's like Eckler's a bad pick. I don't think he is. He could very easily finish as the number 2 running back. And there's a lot of questions regarding, hey, is McCaffrey going to be able to sustain and even produce, 13, 14 healthy games, right? Like, that conversation is valid. So on top of the fact that you're a Chargers fan, yeah, let's roll with it. Why not? I think that's great. Franco from Argentina, how about that? AT says, can you really trust Barkley though? He's been a bust since his rookie year. I disagree with that sentiment. I mean, his sophomore season, he only played 13 games, full healthy games, and he was still a top 10 running back in fantasy. So I don't think he was a bust in that year. Maybe in regards to where he was selected, he dealt with an injury. Obviously, injuries are things that you can't really take into account. Let me think here. I'm gonna. What do I want to do? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna invest in what. Yeah, let's go Thielen. I'm just gonna do it. Let's just see what happens in this draft. So yeah, I mean, I categorically disagree with the sentiment of the idea that he's been a bust since his rookie year. Obviously, 2020 wasn't a great position. Tore his ACL second game of the year against Chicago. I wouldn't even consider that a bust, right? That's just like a, hey, shit happens. That's basically that scenario. Last year, we were all kind of given the warning. He may not be ready for week 1. He may not be, you know what I mean? So if you decided to invest in him there, you know full well what the risks are and the inherent risk of drafting a running back after an ACL injury. If you make that selection, just like the way I just did with Akers, I know the inherent risk of what Akers provides, but yet I'm still willing to make the decision because I believe the upside will outweigh the potential, bust factor of the given player. But that being said, yeah, I categorically disagree with the idea that he's been a bust since his rookie year. Sophomore year was a top 10 player. The rest of the years were riddled with injuries, and now he's got an upgraded offensive line. He's got a new offensive coordinator, and finally trusting his knee again. When you can do that, you're in a good spot. Sean says Michael Pittman Jr. or I must call him Michael Porter. Isn't Michael Porter the Denver Nuggets player? I think he is. Michael Pittman Jr. or Keenan Allen in a non-PPR, I go Michael Pittman Jr. Has more touchdown upside, more yardage upside as well. Does Najee Harris really tank in a half PPR versus standard? Found a calculator where he did. I mean, I guess if they're anticipating a lot of receiving work, I mean, he had a bunch of receptions last year. Does his value go down? Yes, mainly because the receiving work that he gets primarily now in a half or a full PPR scoring format accounts for a lot of the points that he typically misses out on when he's not scoring rushing touchdowns, right? That has been his baseline of production. So if we're in a scenario where we're looking at it and thinking to ourselves, hey, if Najee Harris doesn't catch or isn't given an additional 35 points via receptions in a half PPR, is he not going to be as valuable as a Mixon? Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's the case. Mixon is probably better than Najee. He would be my 5th running back. I think we could even get into the conversation of other running backs hopping over him because without that receiving work, touchdowns are king. Crypto says, last year Tampa Bay had 3 fantasy relevant wide receivers. Can they do it again? They look, here's the thing. Last year, Tampa Bay had a fantasy relevant quarterback, running back, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end. They could probably end up doing the 3 wide receivers, the running back, and the quarterback. The tight end position, Rudolph and Cameron Brate, I think they're probably going to end up splitting a little bit there. So the ability of getting Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady, all pretty much top 12s of their position, and then you have Godwin coming back, who will still be top 24 potential. And then maybe Julio steps up and delivers for us. Okay, let me look at this draft board. So I ignored quarterback last time. There's a chance the quarterback gets taken here. Yeah, let's just take Brady. We're going to roll with it. So what have I done so far? Let me just go ahead and give us a little bit of a review what the heck this draft looks like. I know I'm answering questions and it may not give you context to what I've ended up picking. Maybe I can give you some context. So I went up going Mixon and Aaron Jones, my 2 highest ranked players at the time. I went with Michael Pittman and DJ Moore in the next 2 following rounds. And then I followed up by taking my flex of Cam Akers, then took Adam Thielen as a little bit of a risky play. I could have certainly went and grabbed Trey Lance or Jalen Hurts or Joe Burrow. I still have Tom Brady as a top 8 quarterback this year. Again, last season, you guys have heard me talk about his stats. Career highs in passing attempts, passing completion percentage, career high in passing yardage, the second most passing touchdowns in his career, second highest passing, like just crazy numbers, right? I understand he's on vacation right now and he's not at training camp and they may be a little bit worrisome, but Brady's still Brady. But anyway, there could have very easily been a conversation of instead of going Thielen there, if this wasn't a 3 wide receiver format, you go and you grab your tight end. And that's probably the play. Instead of going Thielen here, you take Schultz there in the 6th and then you're fine. Okay, let's throw this back up on the board. We can move me back to this position. Oh, I almost clicked stop streaming. That would have been a disaster. Okay, back into the chat. I'm almost on the clock. We'll see what happens. Casey says Ramondre Edmonds, Jacoby Myers, Kadarius Toney, Matt Ryan, Cole Kmet as my bench. I like that. I think Ramondre's got good upside. I think Chase Edmonds is, widely slept on this offseason in terms of the potential that he could provide for that backfield. I like Matt Ryan as a potential, like, throw him in there on a given week when he needs to be. Kadarius Toney has top 36 upside. So does Jacoby Myers. You have a very good bench that is going to line up well. The only question is, does Matt Ryan have the same bye week as your starting quarterback? That's literally the only question I'm wondering. And same thing with Cole Kmet. Does Cole Kmet have the same bye week as your starting tight end? Because those could be defining things where it's like, well, we made a mistake here. I'm still of the opinion that I'm willing to should I go tight end here? Maybe I do. I don't know. I'm looking at what's available at running back, and I'm kind of like thinking I'm just gonna punt tight end and just grab a running back here and just roll with it a little bit. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. What the heck is this report on? Yeah, I'm taking my Damian Harris, by the way. I know a lot of people don't like Damian Harris this year. Guys, I just can't stop with where his ADP is, man. I like Damian Harris too much. Maybe I'll get burnt by it, but I like to pick too much, man. The guy is way too easily in line to get 230, 240 rushing attempts this year, and probably upwards of 20 catches. Like, if you're gonna tell me you can get a guy that's gonna touch the ball 250 times in the 8th round and is the primary goal line back, like, dude, oof, I just can't. I can't pass it up. But that's me. We keep it moving. A couple questions were sent in. Chase Edmonds might be a top 10 PPR this year. All right, AT. Listen. If we're talking, I have a little. Okay, have you guys ever seen these before? These things, you like wrap it around your wrist so that when you go outside you don't get bit by bugs, because I'm an absolute, like, I get completely swarmed. It's green, as you can tell, or you can't tell. My green screen that's behind me makes this go invisible. So anyway, Chase Edmonds is a top 10 running back is maybe one of the boldest statements I've ever heard this offseason. Is it possible? Yes. Anything is possible in life. At the perfect rate, at the perfect execution, where this offense is a well-oiled machine and he is the primary back and he's getting goal line attempts and passing targets going in his direction. Let's not forget, Tua targeted Myles Gaskin 40 plus. Myles Gaskin had 40 receptions last year. Chase Edmonds is widely slept upon. Was going to be a player that I was going to talk about in an upcoming video, but there's only a couple hundred of you in here. We'll talk about it a little bit in regards to his potential. Where he's going out in drafts in a full PPR should be going way earlier, and it's no question. He like, I understand they're on their running backs may be posing threats. Raheem Mostert has not been able to stay healthy, and Sony Michel doesn't look like he's anywhere close to the number 2 spot. So it looks like Chase Edmonds is their every down back, especially if Raheem Mostert is, injury prone and gets banged up early in that season. Okay. Alvin Kamara, a good pick this year, says Daz. Alvin Kamara is a good pick there's one of multiple scenarios. If you end up taking him in the 2nd round and you grab Mark Ingram in the 10th and you pair that up, it's a valid pick. I still think that it's a valid idea to take him in the 2nd, even with the potential looming suspension, because if it doesn't hit and you're able to get Kamara, who in my opinion is a top 6 to 7 running back in fantasy, and you're able to get him in the 2nd round, you are making a huge play. But again, it is risking your whole season. I did it in the last draft where I took him in the 2nd round. Shoot, if this dude goes 10 weeks, gets suspended for the last 6, misses my fantasy playoffs, I'm done. My season's over. But if I get into a scenario where, hey, we get to October, we're in November, he's not facing a suspension, the court date gets delayed again to February, I got myself a top 6 back in the 2nd round, and maybe, just maybe, he can lead me to the promised land, because he is Alvin Kamara and we know what he's capable of doing. All right, so let's see what we have available here. Patterson or Walker. I already have a lot of running back depth already. So I'm going to go ahead and probably, I mean, I think Cole Kmet is probably the play here. We have Pat Fry. No, you know what? I don't want to go tight end. I don't want to go tight end, but might have to. Yeah, let's just take the Traylon Burks route here. Let's see if we can get some upside from some of these receivers. At this point, he's not getting suspended. Well, look, here's the thing, Malcolm. The way that it works in the National Football League is they wait for court cases to be settled, right? So after that court case that has been postponed until the beginning of September, so it was postponed a month from August 1st. So it should be coming up just around the corner. If they postpone it again, then sure, we're fine. But if in fact they get to a point where the court case begins, evidence comes out, supposedly, this is an assault case that was done in a Vegas hotel next to an elevator. There's camera evidence. If this dude gets bopped and the evidence shows that he's guilty, it will take a week and the NFL will slap him with a suspension. That's my concern, because they wait for the court case to be settled, and then once it's settled, it's free game. The NFL goes in, swoops in, and starts ban-hammering people. That's what they did with Deshaun, right? They waited. They saw what the neutral arbitrator, that judge, what her position was. She said 6 games. They said, okay, that was your opinion. We're going to slap him with 11 games and $5 million, which probably wasn't enough, but we keep it moving. So risky. Okay. Would you be comfortable having Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, or Pittman as your wide receiver 1? Pittman as my wide receiver 1 is extremely comfortable. Moore as my wide receiver 2, I'm great with. Deontay Johnson, I'm okay with him as my second wide receiver. Obviously, I'm not as excited about him in comparison to last year. You guys remember I was all over the Deontay Johnson train. I was just, completely just banging the table saying, guys, we got to draft him. He's going to be top 12. And luckily he was able to be in that conversation. But I don't know. Without Big Ben, I just don't know if I can trust Mitchell Trubisky. I know Mitchell Trubisky has produced and helped Allen Robinson back in 2019 and 2020 be a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. But there's still so much potential for failure that it scares me. But I'm willing to do it, depending at the right, price. What do we got here? Scorpion says, I noticed that some of the teams that were drafted a few weeks ago were much better than the drafts the last few days. People are getting smarter in terms of ADPs. Yeah, look, once we get into, am I next on the clock? Oh, I am. Okay. What do we have here? Wait, did I end up auto picking at one point? No, it just went around the corner. Okay, cool. So at this point, this is probably where I slam my foot on a tight end. I'm probably just going to take Kmet and just hope for the best here. The running backs that are available aren't really too intriguing. Wide receivers, I mean, I could probably come back. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to, let's make a bold play here. Let's just see if Brady Julio can be a nice stack for Andrew. And then I'll come grab tight end later, because I think really at this point, all these tight ends are pretty much at the same value in terms of at the end of the season, how many points they're going to put up. They're probably all in that same range, probably like 110 to 135 points. So really it doesn't make a difference whether I select one now or in 10 round or in 10 picks, 20 picks. Okay. How many hours have we been in here? We're about 2.5 hours in. I probably say we're probably going to go until the end of the hour. So I'll probably be here until the next 30 minutes. So about 3 hours of stream. I'll probably be back tomorrow. I mean, the amount of engagement we saw today, amount of questions you guys had, the ability to hop into drafts with you guys via Underdog Fantasy. I'll probably be back tomorrow afternoon, maybe similar time. And then starting Monday, we're back to, regular daily uploaded videos. I just thought, hey, maybe I'll just come out here, talk for 3 hours one day, talk for, 3 hours the next day. That provides a lot of content in comparison to like a, 30-minute video that may give you some context. And then Monday, we're back on the grind in terms of daily uploads. Tuesday, Wednesday, like we talked about, running back strength of schedule. and then we're off and away, and we're getting that much closer. Somebody asked, I think a little bit before, Casey asked Brandon Cooks or Brandon Ayuk. 100% Brandon Cooks. I think I have him as my number 19 or 20th ranked wide receiver going into this year, while Ayuk is in the back end of the, like, I think he's like mid 30s, like mid to low 30s, like in terms of, like, I think he's like number 35 or 36 in my rankings. When are your tight end rankings coming? I probably won't put out a tight end rankings video, but there will be upcoming videos that will include let's just put it this way. Upcoming, there will be videos on every position where I talk about almost every player, if you know what I mean. Those tier list videos are typically ones that really do find value on this channel, and I know you guys appreciate those. Ever since I started it back in when was the first time I dropped the tier list video? 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that was 2019 the first time I did that. So we'll have those in the coming weeks, and then should give you some context. Somebody was asking about my Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, I have him at 12 or 13 and a half PPR, 12 and a full PPR. So of the available tight ends that were still there, Freiermuth, I have him a little bit higher. I have Njoku kind of in the same range. I have Hunter Henry in the same range. So I'm full well willing to get one of those guys to come back to me. What do we have here? Would you draft Zeke in the early third? I don't think I'll get him in the fourth. Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Max. I think in many contexts, you will probably not be able to get Zeke in the fourth. Yeah, the fact that I was able to do it in my last draft mainly is because this is a best ball. But in terms of being able to get him in the third, I don't mind getting him in the late third. Don't mind that. If I start my round, my first round as a, I don't know, running back, go Kelsey in the second, Zeke in the third, I'm okay with that, kind of setting it up. Thoughts on Dameon Pierce, James Cook, and Isaiah Pacheco? Listen, I think Kansas City Chiefs running backs you should be very careful with them. Mainly because I don't trust Andy Reid too much. And the reason why I say that is because if Clyde Edwards, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jerick McKinnon are all getting first team touches and looks, that means we have an RBBC kind of scenario. We have a running back by committee where we may be in a little bit of trouble there. All right, so we have Irv Smith here, Pat Freiermuth, Hunter Henry. We still got really good talent still left on the board. I'm going to look at running back here. I don't really mind taking like a kind of a deep sleeper play with a Brian Robinson and just hope. And then I'll just continue to wait for tight end. So in terms of Kansas City running backs, if we're in a committee situation, it makes it difficult to try to draft a player like Pacheco, especially if I don't know he's going to get immediate touches. So that's worrisome. James Cook, I think he could very easily be the starter by the end of the year. The fact that he's going where he's going in the draft and the fact that he most likely will be the primary receiving threat of this backfield is promising. But Devin Singletary is a strong adversary in terms of trying to compete and get touches. Dameon Pierce, I think, out of all these options in the worst offense, is most likely to be the guy that ends up winning the job because the competition is lesser. I mean, I 100% believe that Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead are not as good as Devin Singletary, Clyde Edwards in the grand scheme in terms of a football player. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, Dameon Pierce, most valuable out of that group. Then it's James Cook. Then it's Isaiah Pacheco. But again, it really is. Did I just auto draft? No, my pick's coming up. Okay, I'm about to say. It's really a matter of whether or not the ADP is at the right position. Because I'm not willing to take Pacheco where he's going. I think he's going as like a top 50 back. I don't know if he's going to be able to deliver on that, Maybe as a handcuff, he comes in and makes plays, but that's what you'd have to be drafting him as, not a flex play. But again, not a bad investment if it ends up panning out. Would you draft Breece Hall or Travis Etienne in the fourth in a full PPR? 100% I would take Travis Etienne this year in a fourth round full PPR. Fifth overall pick, I'm thinking Dalvin Cook or Najee Harris. Any advice? Yeah, I think Najee Harris is probably just as good as Mixon and or Dalvin Cook in that scenario. In my rankings right now that you can find either once you sign up for Underdog with a first deposit using promo code Andrew, you'll receive my draft rankings weekly basis updated for the rest of the month. As of right now, in the half PPR rankings that I have, as I updated this morning and sent out to everyone, if you haven't checked your email, go check that. I have Najee Harris in the same tier as Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara. My fifth through eighth ranked running backs, I have them all in the same tier. So I'm of the opinion that they're all just as kind of valuable as each other, and they could be kind of swapped out with different arguments. So if it's me, I'm probably going Najee Harris or Mixon and trusting that. But if you want to take Dalvin Cook, by all means, I think he's in the same tier of player, and I could certainly make an argument to take him over the available. Okay, so what is available here is Pratt Freiermuth still here? Yes, but I'm just going to go David Njoku and just hope for the Omega upside. Where are we at? Let me look at the chat. Thoughts on Breece Hall? Okay, listen. He's a rookie running back. Rookie running back selected in the top 50 of their draft over the last 5 years. Last 10 years, since 2012. I've done the math. I've done the spreadsheet, extraction. He should, right? Based on what we've seen, if he doesn't miss any games due to injury, he should be a top 20 running back. He should be. I don't have him ranked there. I think I have him 21 or 22 because I am scared of Michael Carter, purely. I think Michael Carter has shown enough in his career to be given the benefit of the doubt of the idea that he can come in on a third down and catch the ball or even be a first down or second down guy. He was very efficient in the touches that he had last season. His yard per carry after contact, all these metrics that are really strong arguments for running backs, especially young ones, it does scare me. So still, I think he's going to be top 20 in that range, top 24 for sure. But man, if we get into a scenario where we're getting a running back by committee and Joe Flacco is throwing the ball to any running back and Michael Carter is starting to get a lot of work there, and then this offense starts to just roll him out every other series, it may end up like Javonte Williams last year. Still might end up as a top 20 player, but he may not be given as much opportunity as we anticipate. What do we have? Cup in the fourth. Wait, what is this? Josh Perry says Cup in the fourth, Lance in the 12th, or Debo in the 8th. PPR keeper, 2 QB keeper league. You can keep 2. Oh my gosh, man, you're gonna give me a heart attack. This is tough. Holy moly. 2 QB league. You can have Lance in the 12th, Debo in the 8th, or Cup in the 4th. Oh my god. The reason why I'm hesitant, okay, I want to keep Cup, but when I do that, I also want to keep Debo stacked with Lance, but I don't think I can. I think I'm just going Cup and Lance. I'm keeping Cup in the 4th. I'm keeping Lance in the 12th. I'm letting Debo go out into the abyss, and maybe you are able to draft him with one of your early picks and then, kind of get him back on your roster. But at least this way, you're keeping your 2 most valuable players, in my opinion, in a 2 QB keeper league. Okay, what do we got? Couple more questions. Am I almost on the clock? I surely am. I was thinking the same thing until I learned that Breece Hall has the easiest strength of schedule in the fantasy playoffs. Really? Let me check my my spreadsheet. I did the full calculations. I don't remember seeing that. Where did you get your strength of schedule stats from? Because I personally curated mine. Where are the Jets here? Bruh, I don't see that he has the weeks 15 through 17. Oh, he does. He has the 6th easiest on my list. Yeah. So I don't want to. Okay. Tuesday, guys. Tuesday, you'll get the full idea. But as of right now, on my metric list, he has the 6th easiest strength of schedule in the fantasy playoffs. Detroit, Jacksonville, Seattle. Those are 3 great weeks. But you want to know who has the easiest strength of schedule in the playoffs? I'm going to nail. Oh, man. These are juicy stats, guys. Holy moly. The easiest strength of schedule in the playoffs, based on the numbers that I've done: Detroit, Indianapolis, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Got good numbers there. Oh, dude, I'm on the clock. I didn't even realize. Yo, nobody told me. I think I'm going to take another one of these tight ends just because I waited long enough. So let's just take Hunter Henry and we'll just chill. I'm telling you, dude, those are, I mean, we're talking about Swift, Taylor, Henry, ETN, Brees. Pretty good stuff there. James says, question, what do you guys use to watch NFL games? Montgomery, easiest schedule for running back. Where did you get these numbers? Like, I'm actually legitimately curious because let me go look at mine because I don't think I have. Well, okay, maybe if you didn't take into account the fact that their offensive line is trash, but maybe, I don't know. I'll look into it right now. But let me go back to the questions that were here in the chat. Okay. Brees is a beast. Yeah, I agree. He was great in college. Eckler or McCaffrey? I could go either way. As of right now, I'm taking McCaffrey over him, though. Am I crazy for wanting Lance as my QB1 and Cousins as my backup? No, you're not crazy. That's perfectly fine. J. Cole, thank you very much for the compliment. Is Sky Moore a must draft in the late rounds? I think he's perfectly fine there. I just don't know if he'll get immediate work in his rookie year. I mean, there's a lot of receivers. You still have Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You still have Juju Smith. You still have Mecole Hardman. You still have Kelsey out there catching the ball. If Mecole Hardman's going to miss some time, maybe Sky Moore gets a little bit more opportunity. Could be a decent spot there. Okay, let's see here. Where's my strength of schedule for this season? So as of right now, where's Chicago? Chicago on my list has the 4th easiest. Yeah, I don't know where you guys are getting your stuff from, but once I show you the math that I did to come up with mine, trust me, I spend a lot of time every year on strength of schedule. You guys know how much I talk about matchups every damn week. There's a reason why I do it, because I love taking advantage of easy matchups. But yeah, the question James was asking, where do you guys watch your games? Friend of mine has a what's it called? What's the thing called? Goodness gracious. Not NFL Red Zone. It's the other one that has all the games. It's completely eluded my brain. Friend had one of those accounts. He gives me the code. I watch the games. Oh, I'm on the clock again. Cool. Of the available, give me Wan'Dale Robinson. That's fine. I'm okay with that. All right. So this is probably the last draft that I do today. I'm going to most likely proceed to Sunday Ticket. Thank you. Goodness gracious. Thank you, guys. My brain just stopped working. I don't know why it did. It just did. But nonetheless, this will be the last draft that we conduct. I will be then transitioning to just answering questions. I might as well just do that now just to kind of get everything on screen. Let's transition real quick. The ball's being thrown in your direction. Bada boom. And I do appreciate you guys letting me know Sunday Ticket. So there were a couple more questions here. Pick Amon. Okay, yes, they're answering other people's questions. Henry won't be there in week 15. What is that supposed to mean, Russian collusion? Are you telling me Henry's getting hurt before week 15? Listen, guys, I was going to say a word that I don't like to use. Okay? But I really do despise the idea of anybody inferring to the idea of like, this player's going to get hurt. He won't be there. Ha ha ha. Like, it's not like, I don't even think it's funny. Like, it's just like such bad manners to an extent. Like, yo, I want to see every single player in fantasy never get injured, play at their maximum potential, and for them to produce every single week consistently. That's what I want. Unfortunately, it's not a part of the reality, and I get it. But yo, come on, don't say Henry's not going to be there. Of course he's going to be. He's going to be a stud this year. Come on, guys. DJ, I appreciate the donation. Says, Drew, remember when you used to go to the movies? Listen, dude, every Sunday after I used to do my live streams, I used to go to the movies. And then you know what happened, DJ? COVID hit. And then movie theaters died. And then everything went downhill. And now I stream for far longer on Sunday mornings, and I do not waste my time going to the movies. Now, that being said, if there was a good movie to go to, for example, I'm already keeping in mind, November, Black Panther 2, boom, going to that one. December, the new Avatar movie, boom, I'm going to that one. Until we, unless it's Marvel related, Andrew's not leaving the house to go watch a movie on a Sunday anymore. Those used to be the days when Andrew wanted to take it, some time to himself. No, no, no. Now I sit in front of the, well, not now. I mean, I used to go to the movies after Sunday streams on like, what was that, 3 years ago, 2019? Last 2 years, I sit in front of the TV and just have my brain get melted by the stupidity of some of these players and the production they end up putting up in a given week. Colts have an easy schedule in the regular season as well. First 6 games. Let me see this. Weeks 1 through 7. So I have it broken down in weeks 1 through 7. Indianapolis Colts. Where are they on my list here? Let me F3 function Colts on my spreadsheet. To be honest, they have the 14th easiest schedule, weeks 1 through 7. Weeks 1 and 2. Wait, what am I looking at? Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong list. Wait. No, I'm not looking at. No, they have the. Yeah, weeks 1 through 7. They don't have that easy of a schedule, actually. Houston and Jacksonville are great, but Tennessee's not that easy. Denver's not easy. Tennessee again. Kansas. Okay, they have 3 or 4 good games out of 7, which technically is okay, but based on the additions that some of these teams have made in terms of their defense, because I do take into account people that have been added. I don't just look at last year's numbers. I've added players. I've taken into account offensive line, their production, their skill levels. And did I just draft Daniel Jones auto pick? Yo! All right, well, that draft is cooked for me. I'm just going to let it continue to auto draft. You're welcome for whoever ends up winning that one. If I win that league, I'm going to be surprised. Actually, no, I won't be. Brady's going to carry me to his promised land. Never mind. Couple more questions came in here. Andrew, weren't you guaranteeing that Cook would get injured? Nah, I would say that. No, I didn't say he was guaranteed. Listen, I said it as okay. So this is what I said exactly. I said it's guaranteed that he's going to miss 2 to 3 games, and then I literally right after, you can pull it back, said no, it's not really guaranteed. I literally immediately took that back because nothing is guaranteed in fantasy. You can go pull that back. Give me some thoughts on Dallas Goedert, Pat Freiermuth, and Hawkinson. I think they're all pretty much going to score the same amount of points. If there's anyone out of the group that can be a top 6 guy, it's probably Hawkinson. But I don't know. I mean, the dude, there's so many mouths to feed in that offense now. You bring in so many other weapons. But hey, prior to him getting injured last year, was a vital part of that offense. So maybe, just maybe, we're in a position where we're sitting in. He continues to get those 8+ targets per game. Let's see here. Will you do a Sutton versus Judy video? Probably not. I've already done a video where both of them were included, and I probably talked about both of them for like 5 to 7 minutes. I think I included Judy in a must draft breakout wide receivers video, and I included Sutton in a must draft wide receivers video. So you can find them there on the channel, certainly. But I won't do a head-to-head difference because I 100% believe Sutton is the better option. Yo, Andrew, what do you think about Rashad Penny and Michael Thomas? I think Michael Thomas has been said to have looked great all offseason. I'm full in on him. I think he's a top 20 wide receiver. I may be the only one of that opinion, but I think that's the case. And Rashad Penny, listen, if he is in a position where week 1, he comes out and looks just as good as he did last year, I doubt that's going to be the case. When you don't have Russell Wilson under center, teams are going to stack the box. If your offensive line isn't good enough, those 2 rookie offensive tackles don't step up immediately, which they probably won't. It's going to be, a learning curve to say the least. Rashad Penny's going to have some struggles. He's not going to get much third down work. He's going to have Kenneth Walker breathing down his neck. As of right now, I have him ranked like at the RB 30-ish in that spot. Like at this point, where he's going in draft, I'd rather just take Kenneth Walker, right? Because I'm just looking at this offense and looking at the potential of Penny in his final year within this offense. And if Kenneth Walker ends up playing better as the season progresses, he may just be the better option at the value that he's currently going at. That's just like getting insurance on your electronic items. What, getting a handcuff? Yeah, pretty much. I think Jefferson gets more targets than Cook in that offense. Wait, what? Justin Jefferson will obviously get more targets than Cook. Let's see here. Nick Chubb or Pittman? I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. I like the idea of going Chubb regardless of how you started your first. Oh, okay. So you made it a specific point. Assuming you went RB in your first 2 rounds. Yeah. If you go RB in your first 2 rounds, I think it would be overkill to take Chubb in the 3rd. Even though I think he's got really good value there, I think it would be overkill and you'd have to just go Pittman, which again, he's my number 9 receiver going into the year. A good pick. Walker was a massive stud in college. At his final year in college, yes. At Michigan State, he was great. He like in terms of metrics, he was probably like top 3 back in the nation. And then obviously the best back in terms of metrics coming out of college. Had better numbers than I mean, like not overall numbers, but in terms of like the intangible numbers that are like most breakout runs of 15 plus yards, most yards per contact after, most yards after contact per attempt, stuff like that, differentiates running back talent. But yeah, Walker's certainly a stud. We know that. Diggs or Adams? I prefer Diggs, Hashi. My buddy is taking Najee Harris with the 2nd pick. How much do you think that changes my first 2 rounds with the 7th pick? Okay, so let's see here. I don't think it changes it, by the way. It goes Taylor, Najee, Jefferson, Kupp, McCaffrey. That's 5. Then you get, oh, actually, that helps. So that means you have the 7th pick, right? Let me read that again. You have the 7th pick. Okay, so if Taylor, Najee Harris, McCaffrey, Kupp, Jefferson are gone, that's 5. Henry or Eckler is one of your players. Perfect. Love to see it. I would draft either of them, Henry or Eckler. If they end up on your doorstep, you're good to go. If you don't want to start running back, you get Jamar Chase and you're good to go. But I would prefer one of those 2 running backs. I think the fact that Najee Harris goes there certainly changes up your 1st round pick. Your 2nd round doesn't get affected by that. I think you're starting running back regardless in that manner. But this way, at least you're getting one of the guys you wanted. And if perhaps Jefferson or Kupp fall to you, you go there and you're fine. But either way, I think those top 7 players or the available 6 players that you could eventually have because Najee's a guaranteed number 2 are all really good for you. CeeDee Lamb and Elliott or Chubb and Mike Evans or DJ Moore. CeeDee Lamb or Elliott or okay. Listen, that's a really damn good question. Mainly because I'm wondering if I want to stack 2 Cowboys. If I'm just thinking raw, just who's going to score more points, Chubb, Evans, or CeeDee Lamb or Elliott, I'm probably thinking if Kareem Hunt stays, if Kareem Hunt is going to stay in Cleveland like he currently is, I'd go with the Elliott side. And I take CeeDee Lamb. Should I drop Abram Smith for for Kyle Phillips? Yeah, I think Kyle Phillips, I think he's going to be the slot wide receiver for Tennessee this year, the rookie. I mean, if you have a spot to pick him up, I wouldn't mind it. I'm assuming that's like a deep sleeper kind of league. Is Kelsey a 1st rounder in a full PPR? Yeah, I think he's probably the 12th or 13th player on my board. I think he is. Let me check. I can tell you right now based on my rankings. Let me go to my Excel sheet. Again, if you guys want to get my rankings, you can go down to the description of the video, check out the link, Underdog Fantasy. You can travel over to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Andrew today, sign up, make a first-time deposit with the code. You'll not only get a deposit match up to $100, but you'll also get my 2022 fantasy football draft rankings, half PPR, full PPR, positional rankings, by tier, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, along with top 200 flex. Now, let me look at my flex on the full PPR as of this morning. I finished my rankings, I think this morning at 4:30. No, I think it was maybe 6:30 a.m. I was up for a very long time. I don't sleep, but it is what it is. Right now, I have Kelsey as my number 12 on my big board for a full PPR. So yeah, that's currently where I have him. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so we're back at we're at 5 o'clock. We're about 6 minutes away from closing out today's stream, a nice 3-hour stream. I want to thank you guys for, of course, coming out. I'm going to try to answer as many as the questions that just got sent in so that we're all updated. And then I'll be back tomorrow with another live stream, probably same time, answering questions, having fun, and keeping it moving. I got another text message. Man, people are Whew. Oh, jeez. People. Sorry about that, guys. Um. Okay. I'll call you after. Okay. People cannot stop asking me to go hang out. All right, here we go. So, Jameson Williams is a stud. This is from your boy Colin. Do you think it'll be a good year for the Lions? Look, he tore his ACL in January, right? So if the average return time is about 9 months, taking him as a late pick, throwing him, especially if you have a league where you have one IR spot, you can immediately throw him in there. Then after your draft is done, pick up a player off the waivers. That's like the strategy, right? Like you take him or Gallup at the late rounds, you throw him immediately into your IR position immediately after your draft, then pick up another player off the waivers. So you try that. Like a handcuff. You pick one up if you're drafting in the next couple of days, because again, we have a lot of time before the season starts. Could lead to injuries. Anyway, moving on. Running back. A running back hasn't repeated as a number one overall fantasy finish AP since 07. Okay, Society. That is correct in a in a full PPR. In a half PPR, that is incorrect. In the primary leagues that I play in and the rankings that I do on a weekly basis, it's half PPR, because again, I can't talk about all the rankings. I'd be here literally all day, every day, talking about standard, half PPR, full PPR. But in a half PPR, you go back a couple years ago, Todd Gurley was the number one in back-to-back seasons. So in a full PPR, yes, it's a completely different conversation. If you want to talk about Taylor not being able to repeat, sure, but he still has to be the number one pick. By rule of thumb, based on lack of injury history, offensive line, team in terms of running back rushing attempts, the fact that he was number one last year, they get an upgraded quarterback, everything is pointing towards the conversation of him being in that number one. It has to be treated as such. So I understand that there's the no one's repeated, but that's full PPR. We can have that conversation at a different time. New blood prevails. No, I understand the idea of it, but yeah, half PPR, it is. We've seen repeats. Joseph, thank you very much. St. Sam says, should I keep Akers, Dobbins, or ETN? I'd go with ETN. Oh man, I love. Yes, I would go with ETN. I think he's just higher ranked this season, and if he plays as well as I think he will this year, he will be in the conversation of potentially being in the top 12 the following year. Cole Cutler says, Schultz or Waller? I currently have Schultz ahead of Waller. Waller's been injured in the last couple of weeks and he's not been able to practice consistently. That has moved him down the list, in my opinion. If he's going to start the season with a little bit of an injury and he may re-aggravate it because he tries to play too early, that could be worrisome. In an offense that is already going to be difficult to vie for targets, I'd rather have Schultz being a number one, one of those top tier red zone threats in an offense that doesn't have a number two wide receiver. Instead, it has Schultz in that position. Let's see here. I honestly think Schultz can be tight end 2 or 3. Owen, dude, I wish I had the cojones to put him there. I wish I did. I don't think I don't think he can outproduce Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts legitimately is going to be number 3 if he scores touchdowns. We'll talk about Kyle Pitts this upcoming week because Marcus Mariota, I mean, the last time we saw him as a starting quarterback, he allowed Delanie Walker to be a top 6, tight end each of those years. So a lot of potential there. What is this? What if I don't have the money, but I would like rankings? Paul, that's the thing. If you're not able to sign up via Underdog, in the coming weeks, I will have videos, like tier list ranking videos that will be for free and they'll be on the channel and you can watch them and it'll have my up-to-date rankings as of that day. So there'll be no worrisome. You'll be good to go. They won't be flex rankings, but it'll be positional. Like, here's the band again. It'll be top, 36 running backs. And you'll kind of get an idea as to what I rank in that regard. So it'll be on the channel. I always try to approach with a free content mentality. I always want to bring you guys free content. Like if there's other stuff that I could provide that you guys are interested in, that I could, continue to potentially monetize, I'm going to look for that. But in terms of bringing free content, that's why every single week during the regular season, I bring free rankings on Sunday mornings, on Monday through Thursdays. I always want to keep a free model because we're just having fun. And I want to make sure that everyone, regardless of status in terms of income and all that kind of stuff, can enjoy the content. I never want to gatekeep anything. But flex rankings will always be gatekeeped. Anyway, moving on. what else we got here? Couple more questions before your boy heads out here. Thank you, Sammy. Appreciate it. Brian Shaw. Interesting name. I think there's a powerful world's strongest man guy with the name of Brian Shaw. Penny, Juju, Ramondre, Elijah Moore as the 10th, as a possibility to keep in the 10th. I got Jefferson in the 6th. So if we're keeping one of those options in the 10th round, I'm probably not keeping Penny because I don't know where he's going to end up next year. Elijah Moore, Ramondre Stevenson, and Juju Smith-Schuster in the 10th round. I'm kind of leaning in the direction of keeping Ramondre or Juju. I have both them ranked higher than Elijah Moore right now because if it's okay, I don't know what your scoring format is, Brian, but I think if it's a full PPR, I'm going Juju. If it's a half, I'm going Ramondre. Okay. I appreciate that, Sammy. Thank you guys for the compliments. How do you feel about Schultz? Wait, how you feel about Schultz is how I feel about Goddard. That's interesting. Okay. Listen, hey, I'm all for it, man. I would love to see the Eagles continue to utilize Goddard. I mean, he was way better once Zach Ertz left the offense, but he also had his best fantasy week when Gardner Minshew was a starting quarterback against the Jets, if you guys remember. That was like a massive 20-point week for Goddard that, you know, Hurts wasn't involved in, which kind of keeps me a little bit worried. Velcro Killer says, mighty good fantasy advice, only matched by your magnificent facial hair. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Peace and love from England. Thank you. I appreciate your support. And hey, the fact that you guys continue to watch the channel keeps me going, keeps me bringing out content. So I appreciate that support always. Why is everybody so cold on Devontae Parker? He's shown that he's got the talent, and now he has Jones. I think the main reason with Devontae Parker, like legitimately, people are hesitant on Devontae Parker because they don't know what this offense is going to look like in terms of like how much utilization we're going to see of outside wide receivers. Because like if you look at last year, right? Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, they were like the primary outside wide receivers for this offense. Kendrick Bourne really only survived on touchdowns. Devontae Parker could certainly do the same, but I think Devontae Parker has kind of left a taste in people's mouths with his injuries over the last couple of years that have made them like worried, hey, if I draft this guy, all he's going to do is get injured. And I think that is what people have kind of categorized Devontae Parker as. I think it's unfair to an extent, but at the same time, I understand because it's not an offense that you're going to find major wide receiver upside in, but at least you might be able to find like a wide receiver 3 with upside there, which I'm thinking is Myers, but it could end up being Devontae Parker. Assassin says, if you're in the back of the if you're in the back of the third and Josh Allen and Mark Andrews fall to you, okay, which one are you going to take? Wait, okay, so if I'm in the back end of the third, let me think about this. It goes down to the second round, comes back, and in back of the third round, so like 3-4 turn or 2-3 turn. If we're talking about the 3-4 turn, where Josh Allen and Mark Andrews are both available, I can pick them in my 3rd and 4th round positions. I'm taking both, and I'm saying forget about wide receiver. I'll come back for those later. But you can clarify that for me, Assassin. Do you mean the 3-4 turn or the 2-3 kind of position? Brian Shaw says, I work in fitness, so sharing the name with the world. Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. Chandler says, keeper league, who you keeping? Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, Debo, or Barkley? I just broke my neck. I am keeping Mixon or Barkley. As of right now, Mixon is a little bit older than Barkley, but I think Mixon's probably got the better next couple years. I'm gonna probably keep Mixon there because it'll help you win your league on top of being a good keeper option. What do you think about the Broncos split? I mean, everything is slowly but surely pointing to the idea that Javonte Williams may just maybe get like 60% of those touches. If he does, I'm going to be really happy with the scenario because he could certainly be a top 13 running back. Top 12 is in the conversation, but he's got to score a lot of touchdowns to compete there. So at this point, I'm still thinking he's probably a safer third round pick. Javonte is, and Melvin Gordon is probably a guy that you can steal late and end up maybe on a given week get 10 points out of him in the flex, and I'm happy there. Sammy Telesco says, "You're welcome, bro. Buffalo, go Buffalo Bills, Bills Mafia." Awesome. Appreciate that. That's going to be a fun Thursday night game to start the season, huh? Bills versus Rams. Man, I wish I could go to that damn thing. That would have been, oh my God. Those tickets are probably so expensive. Owen Nance says, "Do you have an Instagram?" Currently, yes. Do I post on it is the follow-up question. The answer is I will eventually. I'm in the works of trying to get some excess content out on other platforms. Obviously, it's tough. Listen, I'm a one-man team. What you see on this channel is your boy and me doing it, right? Editing, graphics, content ideas, everything is me. Just to fucking I'm losing my mind over here, right? I'm dropping F-bombs just because I need to explain to you just how difficult it is to manage everything. So eventually I'll get to Instagram. I'll get there. I mean, it'll be there it'll be there whether I'm there or not, but I'll get there eventually. So yeah, I'll get there eventually. Assassin was saying, the 3-4 turn, drafting 9th. Yeah, if you're able to get them both, dude, I'd take them both. Now, if you're deciding, hey, which one do you take in that 3rd round? I would rather have Mark Andrews first and foremost. So if I start my draft 9th pick, get a running back in the 2nd round, I somehow get another running back in the 3rd round. Mark Andrews is still there. I'll take him in the 4th. If Josh Allen's there, I'll take him as well. Okay, dude, bad guy. Listen, dude. All right, let me do OnlyFans and give up fantasy picks. Let's do that. That's funny. Okay, guys, now we're getting degenerate here. Okay, those are the degenerate questions coming out. I appreciate that, guys. That is pretty much it. We're gonna go ahead and call it. Yeah, I dropped the F-bomb. Now I'm out. Now we're killing the VOD. We're deleting it. You'll never see it. Anyway, I appreciate y'all. How many of you all are still in here? 154. I appreciate y'all coming out for the last 3 hours, supporting the channel. For those of you who donated, thank you. For those of you who went and used promo code Andrew via Underdog Fantasy, thank you. For those of you who signed up via Patreon, thank you. For those of you who just watch my content, thank you. For those of you who just watch fantasy football content, whether it's me, whether it's another YouTuber, it doesn't matter. As long as you're absorbing content in the industry, it's only going to help us all grow, so I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And until tomorrow afternoon, I'll be back. Hopefully, I'll see you here. I'll see you guys. Peace.